Hello everybody, welcome to the Red Devil Experience. My name is Eric. Hope everybody's doing well. We got the latest Manchester United news. We're going to be talking about a couple different topics. Some update about the fitnesses, one about Mazzuari. There's an update about Maguire possibly getting a new contract. We got a little bit more information about that. There's some updates surrounding Kobe Mainoo, the midfield, some links to Harry Kane, which is quite interesting once again. And we're going to be talking about Lammens because apparently maybe, possibly, Lammens might be starting the game against Brentford. We got an update about that, and we also got a little bit of insight into what the feeling is around United between the coaches, Ruben Amorim, since Lemon has come in, and what they feel, how he's done, and apparently he's impressed. So there might be a good possibility that he starts the match on Saturday versus Brentford, or Sunday, whenever we're playing. I believe it is Saturday though. So we're gonna get into that. There's some transfer news links as well. We're gonna talk about Baleba. We're gonna talk a little bit about Wharton. Manchester United also signed a wonder kid. Actually, I think we signed 2 or 3 actually. So we're gonna get into all that stuff. There's actually a lot to talk about today. So let's get straight into it. But before we do, please smash the like button for us because it helps the channel grow. So, you know, just help us out there. It takes 2 seconds of your time. It's a massive, massive help. So if you want to support the channel, you want to support me, and you want to support the community, make sure you hit that like button. It is very, very important. If you're new and you enjoy the content, subscribe. We're trying to get to 3,500 subscribers. We are on our way. We're 10 away from 3,100. So make sure you do that. Hit the notification bell icon so you don't miss a live and you hear from the beginning of the show and you get all the information and you're up to date for when we go live. We also got a Discord as well, and we'll be dropping a link to the Discord in the live chat, and we'll be dropping it after the show as well. It is also in the channel bio if you want to get in there. If you're watching the show after it's aired, get in the comments section, drop your thoughts and opinions. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So let's just get into this, and let's kick things off with a little miscellaneous light stuff, and then we'll get into the good juicy topics, and we'll have a nice conversation like we always do. But yeah, this is one update. So Maz apparently was not seen in training or any of the photos that have come out of training from today. So apparently he's missing. There's a question over his fitness. We're going to have to wait for Ruben Amorim to do his presser, which should be tomorrow, to give us an actual update on Mazzuari's situation. But the speculation is that I don't think he's fully fit because they haven't seen him in training. And the update from Samuel Luckhurst that we got was that, you know, obviously he wasn't seen in training. Sam Mather has been called up to train with the first team today. Mather is primarily a winger. He is, you know, a part of the youth team. And saying that that makes him a logical substitute for Mazzuari in the 3-4-2-1 training games. Amorim is expected to provide an update on his fitness tomorrow. So, if I'm not mistaken, I think Delo is back, or was back in training. So I don't know if Delo can give us full 90 minutes. Maybe he's not fully fit, but I expect Delo to probably be back on the bench. But yeah, we seem if Maz is out, we're a little bit light in I guess that sort of area, that sort of position. I mean, we can put Diallo back there, of course, because we have an abundant number of 10s, and Diallo doesn't have to specifically, you know, start at number 10. And as we saw in the Chelsea match, he did go from 10 and get pushed out back into wing back as cover and as a substitute. So I would probably say that most likely, I mean, obviously, you know, if you're going to call up Sam Mather, he's going to be on the bench. I don't expect Sam Mather to start. I think he's obviously going to be there for cover, as in terms of, you know, just in case maybe Diallo needs a break. Maybe there's an injury or something like that. So he's going to have to add, you know, a little bit of covers. So I for the people that, you know, get very excited about the youth and want to see them play, I wouldn't get too excited about this update about Sam Mather. I think he'll just, if he'll be part of the squad, he'll probably be on the bench, and let's be honest, I don't think he'll be used. And I think Delo should be on the bench. So I probably expect Ahmad to be starting at wingback, especially because Cunha and Mount are back as well. So, and they played a good amount of minutes versus Chelsea. It's been a whole week now, so obviously the minutes has to go up, and They should feature a lot more. Probably, I mean, I wouldn't be too surprised if Cunha starts. I think maybe Mount is a little bit questionable. I think they have to be a little bit more careful with Mason Mount for obvious reasons, right? So I think Cunha could probably start, will probably start. Mason Mount might start. But you have to remember we got to be a little bit careful with Mount. So there might be a little bit of caution, might be a little bit of hesitation there to go in with that. But Lyle's here. Shout out Lyle, and shout out to all the people that are watching right now as well. Let's jump to this real quick. There's a couple miscellaneous topics. Obviously we know this, but why not? Let's just hit it real quick. Casemiro will leave Manchester United in 2026 as his contract won't be renewed. There's been some discussions today about, some players' futures. People getting, people not getting their contract renewed. People may apparently get their contract renewed. I mean, we all know this. We know this is Casemiro's last year. We know this is the end. So this is, kind of the last dance for Casemiro in terms of, playing for Manchester United. So, yeah, I don't think there's any surprises there. I think we all knew. I think everybody's been saying that for quite some time. We've been trying. The fans have been wanting to move him on for the past like two summers or so. It didn't happen. He's still here, but I think everybody was like, all right. We kind of just accepted. We're like, listen, this is the last year, and then it's over. Which, I mean, it'll be good for us in terms of financials because we gave him way too much money when we did the deal. And we also paid a lot of money for him in terms of a fee. But, yeah, I mean, getting 350,000 off of the wage books, and signing and going in for a midfielder, because there's been some talk about United doing a midfield resurgence. Ben Jacobs speaking today, saying that he believes that, and he wouldn't be surprised if Manchester United make a move in the summer or maybe even possibly January. Not both, but he thinks that we're gonna go for two midfielders at some point. So maybe you get one in January, maybe you get one in the summer, maybe you don't get any in January, and you do both in the summer. But there's a little bit of, we got to talk a little bit about that, but we're gonna circle back when we get to the targets for the midfield as well. Box is here. Shout out Box. How you doing, buddy? How you feeling? Jumping real quick to Harry Maguire. We talked about this on the last show. There was a little bit of updates about that. Again, from Sun Sport. And by the way, these updates from the Sun are going to be a lot more prevalent now, because I don't know if you guys are aware, but apparently Samuel Luckhurst has left the Manchester Evening News and now he works for the Sun. So the Sun are going to be a little bit more credible, I guess. So the Sun's going to be hitting quite a lot of updates as we go forward because of Samuel Luckhurst. But we talked a little bit about Maguire last time, and we had a discussion about, I was catching a lot of flack. I was catching a lot of heat by some of the chat members, yeah, for saying that I wouldn't have a problem of keeping Harry Maguire around next season. If we give him like a 2-year deal on reduced wages, I wouldn't mind it. I think he's a good character to keep around, and I give him a lot of respect for his sort of resurgence and what he kind of went through. He's been at Manchester United for quite some time. I think he's got a handle on how to navigate the club in a certain way, especially with the torrid time he went through and where he's at now. And people always talk about experience and leaders and how we don't really have it. And I think, well, with Harry being here through all the sort of torrid times, a little bit of positives, but the hard torrid times and the way, he was treated and what he went through, and losing the captaincy and coming back from that and actually making a comeback and sticking it out and being able to continue on here. I think I kind of view that as a positive. And I argued that I said, listen, if it doesn't affect us getting somebody else, in terms of another transfer, for the future or something like that, and he takes a reduced wage, I don't necessarily mind it as in terms of him being a squad player. Maybe the next 2 seasons or so, I think he has a good character. I think it might be good for some of the younger players like Heaven, like Euro, when they're going to go through some growing pains at this football club, because it's not always going to be nice. It's not always going to go well for them. They're going to have some shit games. They're gonna have some hard performances. And I think if you can probably learn a little bit from Harry Maguire in that sort of sense, yeah. So Axelord is here as well. I'm gonna get to this one last thing, then I'll jump to the chat real quick. So we got this little update. I didn't really want to bring this into the show, but I didn't want to really bring it into the show, but then I decided let me bring it into the show because this is Update Football Insider saying Oliver Glasner could be poached by Manchester United once his Crystal Palace contract expires in the summer. The account that I grabbed this from, this is one of the aggregator accounts, put the bottom part in, it's their opinion, saying, why would United want to replace a manager who is level on points with Guardiola, just 3 points behind Arteta, and 1 point behind Maresca? I would also add into that, is also level on points. Yeah, Ruben is on points with Guardiola, 3 points behind Arteta, 1 point behind Maresca right now with this season. I think this story is kind of a non-story for this moment in time. We've talked about this a few times. Whether you think Ruben's going to be here or not, whether you think he's going to make it or not, whether you think it's going to go well or not, it ain't going to, he's not going to get sacked now. Again, it's too early. And we're in the point of the season where we are only 3 points off of second place. So there's just no chance that, especially that INEOS backs him and stuff, there's just no chance that anything's going to happen. Now, maybe later down the line, if things don't go well, or, maybe it goes okay enough that he ends up staying for the majority of the season, but maybe when we get towards the end of the season, they decide that they want to make a change from Ruben Amorim and go in a different direction. Oliver Glasner could be a person that, could replace him. Maybe he's on a list, and maybe they do have some sort of a temporary shortlist right now. Maybe they have a couple names. I would advise them that they should probably be doing that, because that's just, you got to be prepared. And I think for me, it's part of the job. We've talked about incompetence back in the day. I think, prior to INEOS, we never had a plan B or a plan C. And when things went bad and when things went south, we were left scrambling behind, panicking, and making rash decisions because we weren't prepared. Yeah. So I think the club can obviously do both. I think they can back Ruben Amorim. I think they can also have plan B and C and be prepared for themselves and make sure that they have backup plans and options. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know what you guys would think about Oliver Glasner coming in. I would maybe specifically ask the people that are not Ruben in or don't like Ruben Amorim. You ask for Ruben to be sacked or whatever. Give us your thoughts and opinions. What happens if we sack Ruben Amorim, or we part ways with Ruben Amorim and we end up getting Oliver Glasner? What would you make of that? What would you think of that? Would you consider that an upgrade? Do you think that's a good move? We'll leave that on the table for now. But Fox is here, Lyle's here, Axe is here as well. Shout out to you guys. Axe says we need to win the next match or I go Jupiter. Well, listen, you go to Jupiter all you want. We do need to win the next match. That we very much agree. I think everybody agrees on that. I think we all want, whether you're Ruben in, Ruben out, Ruben by, curious, or whatever, I don't know. I think all United fans, no matter where we are and no matter what we think about, a specific player or a specific, or the manager, I think we're all in agreement that we need to win the next match. I hope we do win the next match. I think we can win the next match. But in terms of, the team right now, listen, on paper, on the table, right, we're actually in a decent position right now. I would like to get 2 in a row. I would like to build a little bit of momentum. I think there is still an opportunity. Whether you believe or not, it's different. But I was thinking about this the other day, and I'm not making an argument for that. I truly believe that it's going to happen. I have there's worrying signs, and I have my concerns, and I have my doubts. But, when you think about it, football is football for a reason. I mean, there have been times where, the writing is on the wall and everybody's like, yeah, listen, this isn't going to be sustainable. At some point, it's going to come crumbling down. November, December, he's not going to be around. He's going to get sacked. That's fine. But also, there has been many, many times in football where it seems that way. And teams do turn it around. Managers do end up turning it around. And it starts going in a different direction. And I think that's just where we are right now. I think that's just where we are right now. I think it's too early. And it's sort of, the table is sort of too close for it to really be nailed down in one way or another. So obviously, we just got to take it week by week, like I think we've been doing. Let's see the results, let's see the performances, and let's see where we end up in the next few matches. It was a positive that we got the 3 points against Chelsea. Sure, maybe it was a bit lucky, and we were fortunate that they got a red card very early in the game, and there was some things in there that we questioned Ruben, and maybe we felt like a little bit lucky that he got away with it because some of the decisions he didn't make. But again, sometimes you need those things to swing in your favor. I think before the match of Chelsea, regardless of how it happened, I felt like, and I think many people felt like, we probably weren't going to go and get 3 points. We wanted us to get 3 points. But, I kind of felt like at the time, I think the feeling was you could see how, we could maybe get a draw and then also maybe lose. And we ended up getting 3 points. So now we're going to Brentford, and we've always said, well, I've been saying, and I truly believe that this is where the battle is for Ruben. This is where the major battle is for Ruben, for the team, for this season. It's against teams like Brentford. It's against teams like Brighton. It's against these other teams. It's not the top 6. If we can get results against the top 6, those are positives, but we need to be consistent. We need to be getting these performances in against these teams outside of the top 6. We need to be getting as many points. And we have an opportunity to do 2 in a row, which I don't know when was the last time that we actually did that. I feel like the team should have a little bit more confidence. They should be feeling a little bit more positive after the result against Chelsea. And we got to go into this match and we got to win it, like Axe is saying. Yeah, Box talking, not a fan of Luckhurst. Yeah, many people aren't a fan of Luckhurst. But listen, at the same time, we got to be even-handed. The guy's been doing it forever. He is sort of a dick, but he's been doing it forever. He does have connections. And, we got to do what we got to do. Box says, what wages would he be on? 100K. Well, going back to Harry Maguire, I mean, he's on 190,000 per week right now. I would feel like, I think maybe, listen, it depends because of what he wants, yeah? But I feel like Harry Maguire, so much so, one, I think he loves the club, but also I think he knows, if he's leaving United, he ain't going anywhere else that's really... that's going to compare in any sort of way, right? It's going to be like a smaller team. It's going to be a smaller wage. So I don't think he has like too much leverage in that. And also, it could be 100K, maybe 120,000. Which is okay. I think it's all right. I think INEOS are probably going to try to get it as low as possible without being probably ridiculous. I don't think they're going to... you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if they try to offer him about half. And they offer him about 90,000 per week. I don't know if he'll take it. He might take it, though. I think he could take it because... listen, he's pretty much at the end of his career, yeah, and it's like you get an opportunity. It's like, well, you can stay at United here, and you can continue on for the next 2 years or so, or you can go play for I don't know, Sunderland or something or whatever. And I think whatever we offer him in terms of a wage reduction, I don't even think he'd probably get that at whatever club he would end up going to in the Premier League. Yeah, so. I think in this situation, United actually probably have the full power, which is kind of rare considering the way deals are structured and stuff. I think we have full power in this one. because we don't necessarily have to keep him. He is getting up there in age. We're obviously going to be looking to add. And INEOS doing their thing in terms of going, you know, on the younger side. So I don't think they I don't think Harry really has any too much pull in this place in this situation anymore, which is quite rare for us, right? So your toothpaste is black. I don't know what does that mean? I mean, they do have charcoal toothpaste, so but if it was white and now it's black, yeah, I don't think you should be using that axe. Box says, I do see a benefit of a leader being kept in and around the squad. And that's sort of the argument that I was making last time I did. Like, listen, it's one thing about his ability, I get it, but I would view it as you're very... It turns sort of into a minimal squad player. I wouldn't see him starting many matches. You could use him as a substitute and stuff like that. Maybe you put him in, you know, depending on where we finish, if we go into like a Europa League or something, or even, you know, in next season, Carabao Cup, FA Cups types of matches, you kind of stick him in there and you play maybe a younger guy next to him, so you balance it out. So to be, you got experience next to youth, and they could kind of lean on each other while we're playing matches and stuff like that. So yeah, Lyle says I would keep Maguire. He has been good these last 2 seasons, and I agree with that. And I always say that reduce wages and then yeah, keep him. Yeah, listen, I think if they say 100K and a 2-year deal or something like that, I think I have no problem with that. I think it's perfectly fine. But if they tell me that and then they're like, well, since we're keeping Maguire, we're not going to go buy, you know, maybe this 21, 22, 23-year-old center back, then I'd be like, listen, well, just move Maguire on then, because we still need to continue building. And also at that point it's like, well, you're giving up sort of the future for somebody that doesn't really have any more of a future, and is coming to the end. So you know, it depends on the circumstances, but in the way I'm thinking about it, the way I'm seeing it, the way I play out the scenario in my head, it would be Maguire, reduced wage, 100K, 120K, maybe something like that, 2-year contract. And we're also going and we're getting reinforcements. Keeping Maguire there is not stopping me personally from going and getting more reinforcements. And also I think it would be good, because if you do get another center back or so, you could probably afford to then give him a little bit more time as well to get well adjusted. And it's not like all the pressure all at once and you need like immediate results. So yeah. Fox says hopefully Amorim's squad improves so we don't have to change another manager. Well, yeah, that is the hope, and I do hope that, Box, because again, I don't want to really see that. I then also worry for the rest of our season as well. I mean, I want the season to be one that we can kind of sort of, you know, enjoy to a certain extent till the end of it. I don't want us to be kind of like how it went last season. I mean, you know, except besides the Europa League was the only thing that kind of kept us in it. But if it wasn't for the Europa League, I mean, by March or February, I mean, it was over. It was done. Like, there was nothing really to look forward to. I would like to be, you know, fighting to the very end, and then obviously succeeding in terms of us trying to get back into Europe and stuff like that. Axe says he doesn't know Glasner. Ruben out now. Well, Glasner is the manager for Crystal Palace, so Chad's here as well. Shout out Chad. Chad says Maguire has been good the last 2 seasons. It's the Mandela effect in effect. Nah, man. I listen. He has been. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what else to tell you, Chad. But I know you don't like him. Maybe you criticize him a lot more harsher because you really don't like him. But you know, I'm not. I don't know. Like, I'm not. I'm not one of those. I don't necessarily hold the grudge against players in terms of, listen, I think if you ask most people, they will tell you Maguire the first 3 seasons or so, when he came in, was it 3 or 4 seasons? I don't even know how long it's been. The first 3 seasons or so, he was absolutely shit. Yeah, he was shit. Like, absolutely one of the worst sort of centre backs that I've seen play for Manchester United. Week in, week out, putting in the worst performances, embarrassment, disgraceful, and it was on a consistent basis for 3 seasons straight. Yeah. And I think if you ask most Manchester United fans, especially since we got into the 3-back, but even under Ten Hag a little bit, the past 2 seasons, he's done quite well. He's put in some very strong performances. He's put in some very good performances. And actually, when he goes on the pitch, considering we have a lack of leaders, and I think, Chad, you're one that has stated that we do have a lack of leadership, yeah? The way he carries himself on the pitch, I would actually say he's probably one of the very few couple of players, if we have any at all, maybe we have like 2 or 3. I think the way Harry carries himself on the pitch, he's probably one of the leaders, actually. So, you know, for the lack of leaders, he's probably one of the only ones that we have, and he's not even starting matches. I mean, on a consistent basis. So, Fox says soccer. Teddy Morning is here. Shout out Teddy Morning. Yeah, I agree. It's football. Even United need more soccer players. We call it soccer. Who calls it soccer? We do call it soccer, but I refuse to call it soccer. I've always fought that. I don't like soccer. I call it football. I call it football, and I call it American football. And I am American, and I do live in the States, but nah, man, football. Chad says keeping Maguire and Bruno is like a 60-year-old lady saying she is content with not having a man. I mean, I like the I like the metaphor. But I don't agree with the metaphor. Yeah, I think maybe if you say Luke Shaw and Casemiro, but I don't agree with the metaphor. Now, again, with the whole Bruno thing, and we're not going to do a Bruno Fernandes thing. We have so many things to talk about. We're not doing a Bruno Fernandes show, so please talk about something else. But I'll just say, if they offer the money, I think again in the summer you have to strongly consider it and take it into consideration. I would personally take it, but that's for a different time. Teddy Morning. The first time I seen Teddy Morning comment, I don't know, maybe he might be a watcher in the a silent watcher in the background. Yes, but not all of us are American. We're not American. I'm American. We got a couple from South Africa. We got some from England. So, make me a cup of coffee. Yeah. Yeah, I get that one a lot. I got the heavy accent on that one. I got the heavy accent on the coffee. Baseball sweater. I don't got no who's got a baseball sweater? I'm wearing a black t-shirt, man. American talking football is absolutely hilarious. Oh, is it? Is it really? Why? Because your nationality makes you so much smarter in knowing the sport, yeah? It's not the fact that I've played it for almost my entire, basically half of my life. It's not that I grew up watching literally only English Premier League football and that I'm a Manchester United fan and I was born into it. It's not the fact that my father and my mother are European and they came to this country, and I was born here. You know, it's not like I don't have any ties to Europe at all. Nah. You know. So. I mean, but yeah, just because I have an American accent and I live in New York, apparently now I have no knowledge as a football fan. You know, apparently Americans can't have knowledge as a football fan. You know, I don't know. I lost a lot of the chat, but me not liking him has nothing to do with Grimsby having fun with him and completely missing a header and to clear the ball that led to a goal to our opponents. I mean, that's fair enough, but again, that's one time. And also, if we're going by that standard, let's just get rid of the whole team because the whole team lost to Grimsby, yeah? And the whole team pretty much played like shit. I mean, even Kobe played like shit in that game. So if we're going based off of one performance and one match, and we're not looking at the totality of what they've been doing for the past, couple seasons or so, I don't know. Teddy says it's okay having British players if you have Bellingham or Palmer or Kane, etc. Maguire has never been United level. Well, again, I agree with that. Listen, you're talking to the guy that I heavily criticized Harry Maguire, and I wanted him out of the football club, and I got to a point where I actually very much hated him because I just couldn't stand watching the guy. But I'm not that type of guy like that just because you did that in the past. I'm not, it's not, I can't, it's not like I can't give you credit if you do well going forward. So, I mean, again, I sort of view him as just, I don't think there's literally any issue of him staying as a squad player. He won't be playing every week. He shouldn't be starting. And I don't think anybody's arguing for Maguire to stay and be playing week in, week out. I don't think there's probably literally no problem with him just being a squad player, especially if we're still transitioning, especially if we're still building. And I would actually rather like let Luke Shaw go than Maguire. And we got to see what's up with Maz because he gets injury problems, and there's some stuff. I don't think there's a problem if Maguire hangs around for another 2 seasons. Again, as long as it doesn't impact new players coming in, as long as it doesn't really impact like the development of some of our other guys like Heaven or maybe Fredrickson or something like that. But that's what I'm saying. It depends on the circumstances. Maguire to some can never be redeemed. That's a pity. Well, yeah. I mean, it's that's on people. That's up to the individual, right? They have the right to. They have the right to be like that. They have the right to have their opinion. So it's fine. They don't have to. They don't have to redeem him. They've made their mind up. They don't rate him. They don't think he's good, and they would like to see him leave. And that's fine. That's their opinion. They're entitled to that. We just happen to disagree. And we're having a chat about it. That's about it. Teddy is from England, the home of football. Yeah, I know. I agree. At home of football, 110%. My grandfather served in the British Royal Navy, so if you would like to know that. I got a few friends that are from England. So, it's nothing like that. I might be American, but I'm not, maybe I'm not the typical American. I have European ties. I was actually just over there. I do understand that we do have some sort of a what is that called? A stereotype about certain Americans. I get it, but you shouldn't label all of us under one roof. There are some of us that are big football fans. We dedicate our life to watching. We dedicate our life to watching this sport. We like the sport, and we respect the English league, and we respect the English culture as well. So a leader of a bottom half of a table team. My agenda is I want quality. That's it. I get you, Chad. I get you. No, I don't think we're not asking for quality. I think we can do a process where we are getting quality in and then rotating them out. Yeah. And I'm saying again. I'm saying if you come to me and you say, listen, if we're keeping Harry Maguire, we're not going to get any quality in the centre back. We're not going to make any moves. Then I get rid of Harry Maguire. Get rid of him. Move him on. I don't want that. I'm just saying if I can have my cake and eat it too, I think you could use him as a squad player and keep him in the background for the next 2 years, lower his wage. I think if you're looking for some positives, I think the way he's handled his situation and time in Manchester United, he's been through the worst of the worst. And I think he's come out on the other side of it. And I don't think you can say that for many players. And I think if he can help guide some players, especially the younger ones, like, for example, Kobe Mainoo right now, I feel like is having a hard time, yeah? I feel like he's a little bit down in terms of, he's not playing, he's not getting minutes. I feel like his head is probably not in the most positive space because I think he's upset he's not playing. I think he feels like he should be playing. And I think if you have somebody like Maguire, and I would hope, and if I was there, I would be encouraging Maguire to, and I think he already does it because there's been times that this has been talked about quite a lot. Yeah, I would want Maguire to kind of go to him and be like, listen, you got to stick it out. I mean, look how it went for me. I was almost sold and basically exiled. And you can come back. You got to put in the work. Don't get me wrong, love the accent. Nah, it's fine, man. It's fine. It's fine. I get it all the time, so it's no. Your parents are visiting at New York right now. Well, I hope they have fun and they enjoy. Eric is the king of soccer. It's British humor. All right, no, it's fine. Listen, I can't tell how you're saying it because you're typing it. So, if you're joking and you're having a bit of banter, that's fine. All right, we'll relax. We'll relax. New York, yeah. Chad says, I don't think Box wants Maguire to be a starter and maybe captain. I don't think Fredrickson is banned. Is he banned? Why is he banned? Banned for what? I think Box is having a fun time right now. My grandfather served in the military marine too. Did he really? Well, yeah. Well, shout out to all the service members as well. Brave people, and we appreciate what they do. Especially around the world. You gotta serve your people, man. Big respect to those people out there that do that. Brazil is the heart of football. Fox says Mano needs to follow Maguire's example of hard work, being humble, and waiting for your chance. Teddy says, tell you what, mate, I'll give you a sub and a like. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it very much. I love New York accent and American cultures. It's not soccer, it's football. I agree with you. I agree with you, though. I agree with you. I literally call it football. I call it football. I refuse to call it soccer. I refuse to call it soccer. I don't call it soccer. Actually, if you stick around and you stay with us going forward, you'll hear me. I won't call it soccer. I'll call it football. So Mano is way above Maguire level of football. But it's two different positions, man. It's two different positions. They're two different guys, and they're two different. And I agree in terms of the heights that Kobe could reach compared to the heights of whatever Maguire hit. Yeah, totally. But I mean, one's a defender, one's a midfielder. And I do have a lot of hope for Kobe. I almost called him Kobe Maguire. I was literally about to call him Kobe Maguire. I have a lot of hope for Kobe Manu, yeah. And we're gonna get into Kobe because there's actually some updates about that. So let's just transition right into it. So obviously, Casemiro, as we all know, is suspended. Man United, or the Manchester Evening News, is reporting that with Casemiro suspended for Saturday's Brentford match, Kobe Manu has a great chance to start. Does anybody else, I would ask, does anybody else kind of feel like that's not going to happen? Because I feel like with Casemiro not being available, I feel like the next one that's coming up is Ugarte is starting next to Bruno Fernandes, yeah? So I don't know. I don't really feel like there's a great chance for Kobe to start. I would love it if he does, and if he does, I hope he puts in a very good performance. I'm a little bit sad. He's one of the players in this squad that I like very, very much. And I'd like to be seeing him get more minutes. I think this situation that's going on with Kobe Mano at the time is kind of giving me a bit of agitation, I guess, because I think it's getting a little bit hyperbolic in terms of that. It's getting a bit extreme. I don't like how it's so, he's got to start, and then it's like he's not playing, he's not getting minutes. Some people are saying, well, if you're not playing him, or you're not starting him, sell him, or he's gonna go. I don't think we really need to be in that sort of situation. He's a young guy. Yes, maybe we feel like he should be getting more minutes. I think just normal circumstances for a young footballer, just put your head down, work hard. You're going to get opportunities, whether it's now or in a little bit later. I just don't think of a footballer like Kobe isn't going to get opportunities. apparently he's been putting in some extra hard work and training in the background. And one of our viewers on Darrow, who used to play at a professional level, said this actually back in the summer transfer window, that, you know, the clubs set out individual plans for players and, you know, for the season. And maybe it seems like that's what's happening, because if you go into this update, right, Kobe Mainoo is pushing hard to reclaim his spot in the Manchester United starting XI. He's been putting in the work at Carrington and going the extra mile off the pitch, bringing in new private chef to help raise his performance levels and catch Ruben Amorim's eye. This is coming from Stephen Railston, and this is what I want to hear. This is what I kind of want to see. I don't want to see weird social media posts. I don't really want to see the kid sulking. I want the kid to fight. There's many of us that believe in him. He's got to believe in himself. And I understand, you know, when you're in a certain situation, sometimes it's a little bit hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel. But the fact that he's so young and the talent that he has, I just think that there's no way, if you don't just put in the work and you keep your head down and you wait for your opportunity, and when the opportunity comes and you take that opportunity, I think there's no way that he fails. I just don't think there's no way that he doesn't succeed. I just don't like the whole stories of he's looking for a loan and, you know, there's nothing he can do to impress. I don't believe that. I don't believe that Ruben is the type of manager that I don't believe there's no way that Ruben is there and that no matter what Kobe does, there's nothing Kobe can do to impress Ruben Amorim. I don't believe it. I don't think that that's a real thing. So, I think he can absolutely get his spot back, and this is what we, at the end of the day, this is what we want from players. Yeah, we don't want PR talking. We don't want the social media PR stuff. We don't want that. We don't want that. We want them to put in the work behind the scenes, which is on the training pitch, and we want to see the results and the high performances on the pitch. Yeah, we want them to do their talking on the pitch. That's all it is. And I link in it a little bit like Amad Diallo as well. You know, remember, like, you know, it looked like Ahmad wasn't going to make it. And he had a very good loan. And that worked in his favor. And then he came to us, and everybody's expecting Ahmad to sort of get this, you know, the go ahead, get his opportunities, give him a couple chances. And it didn't really go that way. Ten Hag a bit reluctant. And a bit stubborn, and you know, I remember clearly we were all quite frustrated, because it was like Anthony was constantly playing and Anthony was shit, and it was like, dude, just give Diallo his opportunities. And, you know, when Diallo was getting opportunities, and it wasn't a lot, I mean, he was getting like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, but for those 5-10 minutes, he was going on there and he was doing more than half the players were doing in 80 minutes on the pitch. To the point where he pushed it that you literally couldn't ignore Diallo. You literally couldn't not play him, right? And I feel like Kobe can do the same. Like, he might not be in favor right now. Maybe Amorim wants him to develop a little bit more things, but and he isn't getting as many minutes as I think I would like him to see, or I would maybe manage it if it was like, you know, I would probably be giving him 25 minutes. I think 5-10 minutes is kind of a bit low for somebody like him. I would like to see him get more minutes. But I think he has the opportunity, even if it's 5-10 minutes. I mean, they always tell you this. You have to make the most of it. If it's 10 minutes, it's 10 minutes. You go sprint your ass off. You go, you know, make some passes. You do whatever you can in those 10 minutes. As good as you can, as much as you can in those 10 minutes. And you keep doing that. And I truly believe if you do that, it's going to pay off for you, and you're going to find yourself getting more minutes, especially with somebody that has his talent. Yeah. So, Grace says if anybody calls it soccer, they're getting banned. She's in charge. So, and so is Lyle. So, unless they're playing Rocket League, then it's soccer. Why is that? Oh, because it's Rocket League? I don't know. Lyle says Mainoo not starting, especially since Cunha might start. Well, that's also, well, the thing is, again, I think I'm still a bit confused, right? Because does he start in the midfield too? Or is he, or are they talking? I don't think he can start in the 10. I don't think he's going to be able to start in the 10. I think there's too many going on. Also, Ruben's comments that he's fighting with Bruno for a spot. I'm still confused. I'm still confused about exactly what they want to do with him. Some might argue that Ruben doesn't have a clue of what to really do with him, and that's why we're in the situation we're in now. I do believe that the club obviously has set out a plan, and maybe they're working towards that to kind of, cement what they plan to do with him, whether it's going to be, in a deeper role in the midfield, or they want to try and develop him more as a 10. But yeah, I mean, I just think I was thinking more about it of in the midfield too, you're going to have Bruno, and then you have an option, right? You can put Kobe next to him. We're playing Brentford. But does Kobe necessarily replace Casemiro in terms of a defensive mid? He does not. I view Kobe more as a box-to-box, if anything. He's a bit more balanced. He's a bit more well-rounded in terms of, he can go forward. He can do a little bit of defensive duties, but he's not a specialist in defense. And especially when you compare him to Ugarte is obviously quite clearly better defensively, but he's not as good in terms of build-up play. He's not as good in terms of, linking up and attacking. And obviously, I think Kobe definitely has a way better shot, and probably way better vision than Ugarte does. So if I'm looking at it and I'm saying you're playing Bruno, and Bruno's obviously the more attacking one, and then you need one that's more defensive, well, the more defensive one to me is Ugarte. So I don't see how Manu actually starts in the midfield too. And then I don't feel like he will start in the 10. Although, if you think about it, if they're being cautious as Mount, and Mount's not going to play, a large majority of the game, or maybe he can't play, longer than 45 minutes or so, and Ahmad gets played at wing back because apparently Mazraoui isn't available, and maybe Dalot isn't fully fit, so Dalot isn't going to be able to play the whole match, so maybe Dalot gets subbed in. And also we only have Dorgu on the left as well, so we're gonna need, some type of subs or something. We need backups for those positions that we don't really have. Well, maybe Kobe starts. Maybe Kobe starts next to Mateus Cunha as 10s. I don't know. I mean, we'll find out, but Fox says it will depend on Manu's training levels and tactics for the game. Oh, I agree. We'll see what happens. Chat says, I'm saying Manu don't need to follow Maguire's example because he's way above him and deserves to be a regular starter in any team's first 11. First 11 Maguire can't even be signed by other teams. Well, I don't necessarily agree with that, Chad. I think I mean, there should be a way that you conduct yourself. And also, I think it's not necessarily about following his example just because he's a better player than him. I think Maguire has been through a lot. Kobe has not. Yeah, I don't think it necessarily has to do anything with skill level. I think it's about the fact that, I mean, Maguire has done his career. He's been through a lot of ups, a lot of downs. Kobe has not. He's a young guy. So Maguire might know how to navigate through certain things that Kobe doesn't, because he's a kid still. And he doesn't have that experience in handling certain situations. And football is very like that. You can be on top of the world at one moment and you can be the best player, and you can fall off and not be performing quite well. And we've seen that happen to loads of players of all levels. Well, obviously except for like Ronaldo and Messi. But, I mean, kind of look at Neymar. I mean, at one point he was on top of the world. The next moment, he wasn't so much that good anymore. Now, a lot of that was because of injuries, but this is football. Things happen, and players fall off, and players have hard times. You can have one of your best seasons ever, and the next season it's quite negative, and you have to navigate that, and you got to try and come out on the other side. And Kobe's gonna have to learn that. as a young kid developing into professional football and playing for a club like Manchester United, you're gonna have to navigate through highs and through lows, especially at Manchester United. So Mendo's never looked lazy. No, I don't think Maguire's not lazy. He's just slow. I think there's a difference. But no, I don't. I wouldn't say Mano has ever looked lazy. I don't think he is lazy. At all. I think there's been very few players that I would say are actually lazy. Um, Fox says, yeah, there's no reason to have sulking players. They're all living their dreams, being professional footballers and great mind. Listen, I always get that sentiment, Box. I get it. And it's not even like I'm really disagreeing with you. I'm just trying to play a little bit of devil's advocate. We're all human beings, yeah? And what happens, I feel like a lot with human beings is like when you're in a certain situation, like for us, we don't live that life, right? So we look at it and we're like, well, how nice would that be to play football and like you're saying, being a professional footballer and you're on great money. And for us, it's a dream, yeah? And we would trade anything for it. And we look at them and we're like, you don't understand how lucky you are, right? And they don't necessarily understand how lucky they are because as human beings, once a lot of us, most of us, when we get accustomed to something, when it becomes routine, when it becomes sort of the norm, we take a lot of stuff for granted, yeah? So it's they don't understand the other side. They don't, and they're not going to, most of them, right? Most of them. I mean, some players have come from absolutely nothing, yeah? And, they were poor and some people that never leaves them, but it's very human like if you have something that's constantly in your life it becomes more dull, it becomes less special, and you do sort of take these things for granted. So it's not really the thing about sulking is I want them to have a strong mentality. I want them to fight. We need them to be fighters, yeah? We need them to not give up. We need them to not have sort of a sour attitude. Especially for somebody like Kobe, I don't think he's ever showed really any of that except for now. And I feel like the reason why, and not to that degree, but I'm just saying this whole like it seems like he feels a little bit down. Obviously, he asked for a loan out. Maybe he's looking out for himself. I apologize for the dog barking. Um, he's looking out for his career, maybe, because he's like, he wants to play more and he wants to develop and maybe he feels like he should be playing more. That's fair play. But for me, again, like if I was mates with him, if I was friends with him, if I could call him up on my phone or send him a message, I tell him, Cobes, I'd be like, listen, man, I understand, like, you want to be playing more. You lost your spot, kind of, right? Because he was starting, so technically he has lost his spot. Um, but I'd be like, Kobe, like the way I look at you, man, and what I've seen from you, and from your talent, like I do actually believe in you, and I would actually rather tell you, you gotta just fight, because I know if you fight, and I know you put in the work, I know you're gonna get to where we all think you can be or should be. Um, what I don't, what would disappoint me a little bit is if he just kind of, if he did end up going on that loan, I'd be actually a bit disappointed. Now, I would hope that, it would go well for him and maybe it'd work out, but I'd be disappointed in the fact that I'd feel like it's kind of like the first sign of trouble that he really had to deal with, right? It was a whirlwind sort of story for him. He came in, he performed absolutely excellent. He was phenomenal. You know, I hadn't seen a player kind of play like the way he did in the midfield. I was comparing him to Scholes in terms of the way he played, in the composure that he had. And I always said, I was like, the kid is so calm on the ball. And for him to get this start in professional top tier football, and he's playing that calmness, that composure, and it seems like he's playing, like he's been doing it for 10 years. And I was like, I haven't really seen somebody do this for quite some time in Manchester United. And then going and playing for England, and kind of not kind of being like an unused sub to going to a starter and getting to the Euro final and stuff like that. And it was a lot of highs for him, yeah? It was a lot of highs for him. But life in football, it can't just always keep going up. He's hit a period where it's gone down. And I just feel like if he did go on that loan, I'd feel a bit disappointed because I'd be like, the first sign of a little bit of trouble, the first sign of at 19 years old, you know, it wasn't going in maybe the best direction. And he just like went to go somewhere else. And I was like, I want you to fight. I want to see him fight because I know he can, I know he can get out on the other side if he stays and fight. When has Mano ever sulked? I don't think it's like necessarily sulking, but it's this sort of situation of like, he's given off a bit of sad vibes, yeah. It's a bit of a sad vibes. It's a bit of, you know, he's down a little bit. He feels a little bit down. He does give off this sort of thing. The social media post, the things that were surrounding, you know, the things that were coming out surrounding the last day of the transfer window and stuff, that, you know, whatever was being reported, it just gives off these sort of is down in the dumps a little bit sort of vibes, yeah. Which I think is normal because he's a young guy, and again, you're gonna have to navigate between highs and lows. And I don't know how many lows he's had coming up through the youth team, but I can understand 100%, you know, as a fan of Manchester United, if I was like Kobe and I went through what he went through and I got to that point and I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, I'm playing really well. This has gone way better than I thought it could have gone. I'm literally a starter at Manchester United at 18 years old and I'm performing excellent. And then you know, if you fast forward to a year down the line and you tell me somehow I've managed to not become a starter and I've lost my place and I'm not really a favorite, you know, I'd be hurt by it. I'd be upset by it, for sure. But at some point, you then gotta, you know, lace up your boots, stand up tall, and be like, well, fuck it, I'm going for it. I'm gonna fight it, and I'm gonna get back in there. And that's what we really need at the end of the year. You guys write a lot, and then this thing doesn't update me. Where are we? How is Mano given sad vibes, reports, or speculations? Well, I would say the Instagram post that he put up kind of seems like, you know, I don't know if it means that he's fighting, but I don't think I've seen Kobe put up something like that. So clearly, for me, it means that, you know, he's going through a little bit of mental fight in terms of that he's fighting for his position. I mean, that Instagram post, while I wouldn't blow it out of proportion, I don't think it means the end for anything or anything like that. I haven't seen Kobe ever do something like that. I've actually talked about quite a lot of times how Kobe is quite quiet and has a good demeanor and has been very, very professional. This is sort of the first time where there's a little bit of turbulence. There's a little bit of trouble going on surrounding him and surrounding his position and surrounding sort of his future. That social media post for me, I wouldn't say, you know, it's devastating. I don't think it was disrespectful. I don't think it was bad. I just think that I look at it and I think it can mean a multitude of things. And whatever he felt like it meant, I'm not going to like try and, you know, say what he was thinking when he put it up. But if you take the context around that post, at the very least, I would maybe spin it to a positive and say, well, he's fighting. He's fighting. But for him to put out that post, it's kind of, it doesn't have anything really associated with football. It actually has a meaning behind it, but it's for his meaning. I can't define what it means to him because he hasn't come out and said what it means to him. And I don't like to make conclusions, but in terms of what it actually means. But I don't think it's necessarily normal for a guy that literally basically doesn't use social media and isn't that type of guy for him to put up a picture of a scene from a movie where the guy is losing his mind because he's doing everything he possibly can that he feels like the best he can, and his mentor never gives him any credit, and he's going through a mental struggle. You can't necessarily ignore that. You can't just say it means absolutely nothing. When has he ever done that before? Did he make some sort of post like that when he was starting all the matches, when he was, in the Euro final? So I think I think he's a human being. He is a kid. I think it would be naive to say that he's not going through a period where he's trying to fight through this. I'm just saying that what I like is that he's fighting through it. I don't want him to give up. I would be very disappointed if he gave up. I think this situation is one where he is a young guy. I think the club can work with him and he can work with the club. I don't think there's any reason for Cobes to call it quits on him, and I don't think there's any reason for United or Amorim to call quits on him. So that's all that is. What post? So this was a few weeks ago. He put a post. It might not be there anymore, yeah, and it involved the United stand as well, but not really. But he put up a post. There's a scene in a movie. I forgot what the movie is called, yeah, but the movie is about a musician. And the musician has a mentor, and the musician is trying to make it to the big times. Yeah, he's trying to be one of the best ever musicians to ever live. That's his goal. That's his dream. And his mentor is very hard in terms of he can never, no matter how hard he tries, no matter how well he does, the mentor never gives him credit, never really gives him a positive thing. He just keeps pushing him and pushing him and pushing him, and is sort of negative about it. He never really gives him, any credit. And there is a scene in the movie where the musician is basically having a mental breakdown. He's on drums because he can't seem to please the mentor. And he feels like he's giving everything he can, and he's losing his mind because he's like, I just don't understand what else I'm supposed to do. I can't please this fucking guy, and I'm trying so hard, and I'm doing everything I can. And the scene is a shot of a hallway. It comes in, and you see the musician on the drums, and he's screaming at the top of his lungs, banging the shit out of the drums, but screaming. He's having a mental breakdown, yeah? And Kobe put a picture of the shot of the hallway to the room with. Now, this whole thing was blown out of proportion, obviously, on because he put it on the internet, and people were trying to say, oh, he's, basically talking shit about Ruben, and he's basically saying, he can't please Ruben and whatever. Whatever it meant to Kobe, it meant to Kobe. But my whole thing is, you can't just ignore that as it's absolutely nothing. I don't know what it meant to him. I'm not going to say he was disrespecting Ruben. It could literally mean anything he wanted. Whatever it means to him, it could mean whatever it wants to him. He didn't clarify it. All I'm saying is that you can't ignore the fact that obviously, he's lost his place. He's playing less minutes. He's clearly not going to be happy. And he's clearly in a place where he's going to have to fight through that. Yeah. So I don't know if it's still there. It might still be there. Yeah, nobody in the world likes it on the bench. If you look happy on the bench, I shouldn't be in the squad. Yeah, I'm just saying that he needs to fight, and I don't think anybody should be giving up on anybody. I don't think the club should be giving up on him. I don't think Ruben should be giving up on him. I don't think Manu should be giving up on himself, and I don't think Manu should be giving up on the football club. And I don't think Manu should be giving up on Ruben Amorim either. I think this situation is one where the way I view it is he's not Marcus Rashford. Yeah, he hasn't been around for like 7, 8, 9 seasons. He hasn't had loads and loads of chances. He hasn't. It's it's a different situation than that. He's still very young in his career. We want the best for him. I think it's a manageable and fixable thing. I don't think it has to be one that goes totally out of control. I don't think it has to be one that ends up like Garnacho, and I don't think it'll end up like Garnacho because I don't think Kobe Manu is like that. I don't think Kobe Manu has that sort of attitude. I don't think Kobe Manu has that sort of temperament. But again, I would advise, if I had Kobe's ear, if I was friends with Kobe, I would just tell him, bro, just keep fighting because it's gonna come. I know it. I know it is. I know it is. Rajat's here. Shout out Rajat. We're getting into a very deep meaning into Kobe Manu right now. Big discussion. Box saying, I think Eric means from Manu's demeanor and body language, it's clear to see simply Garnacho was very childlike while being an unused sub. Yeah, and I don't think Manu is anywhere close to doing what Garnacho's doing. I wouldn't expect Kobe to be happy. Well, my point is, I don't want it to get to a point where he feels like everything he's doing is useless and he's just got to go somewhere else to continue his career. I don't think we should ever get to that point. If we do get to that point, which I felt like at the end of the window, it seemed like maybe we were kind of there. Because, I mean, for it to be reported that Kobe asked for a loan out of United, I just was like, I was a bit surprised by that. Because I was like, I get you, maybe you're looking out for yourself and you want to go play a little bit more and you want to develop. Yeah. But I'm just like, what is going on then? Because I just don't see how this situation can become one where Kobe is going to end up going on loan when he was starting matches. He should be able to be getting minutes at the very least. It's one thing not to start. I've always said this. It's one thing not to start. But there's no way in hell you can't tell me that he can't be playing 20, 25 minutes a match as a sub or something like that. There's just no way. So I was a bit surprised that that came out. And then I got worried because I'm like, well, if he's asking for a loan, he'll probably be asked to leave unless Ruben leaves. And then I'm also, but then I'm questioning, but I don't think it's like that. I don't think it's like that. I don't think Ruben is, I don't think the story about that Ruben doesn't want him, I don't think is true. Ruben has a certain way with youngsters. And, I was talking to my friend the other day, that's the Sporting fan. And he was telling me, listen, he's like, even with the young guys, he's like, he did play some young guys, some youngsters, and he promoted some youth players into the Sporting team. But he was like, he didn't do that a lot. He said you had to be really, 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 really like top notch. And he was like, they had to wait for their opportunity. And he was like, they had to wait a while for their opportunity. And then when they did get the opportunity, they actually had to take it. So, it's not like Ruben's just like, I love the youth so much. He will give them chances and opportunities, but there's obviously a process around it with him. There's a process with him about it. So, which I don't necessarily think it's a problem. I just want it to be fair, sort of. I don't want to see Kobe doing 5 minutes for the rest of the year. I think there's no way he should be getting more. If he's not a starter, he's not a starter. But he should definitely be getting minutes, and he should definitely be getting opportunities and chances, for sure. Elias says Bruno most likely leaving next summer, and Manu will be the guy. But unfortunately, there is a World Cup coming, and he wants to play in that. I get that. I understand that, and I guess maybe that's why he asked for the loan, because he'll be able to play a lot more. But I wouldn't be surprised if in the next couple months he gets his way into the team somehow, in some way. Because again, I think I take what Andero said one time, and I do believe him. You have to do it anyway as a proper football club. But they've set out a plan for him. There is a plan for him, for sure. There is a plan for him. There is, sort of a path that they want to take with him and for his development and stuff like that. So I wouldn't be surprised if somehow he does end up getting more time, and maybe he does get into the starting lineup as well. Because some of this stuff, if he develops his game over the next couple months, which you can do, and you can improve, well, maybe that's all it takes. And while he's working on that, Ruben's going to use some other players while he's developing. And then, once Kobe has leveled up certain areas that maybe they're asking for or they require for Ruben's system. And then maybe he starts to feature a lot more prominent. And maybe we just got to be patient. I mean, we got to see how it develops along the way. Um, so Grace is here, and Grace says Kobe's thinking if I don't get enough game time, I won't get picked for England, and maybe that is the big thing. There's a lot of midfielders who are playing every week, and he's worried Tuchel might not pick him. I mean, that's fair. That's a fair concern. That's a fair sort of thing to consider, especially if you're Kobe. You do want to represent England. You do want to be in there. I get that. I understand that. Represent your country and all that, and you do have to, take that into consideration that, like Grace is saying, and it's a very good point. I mean, there's a lot of midfielders and they're playing every week. And if you're not playing every week, your chances are going to be a lot lower. And you might not even make it to the squad because, I mean, if all these other midfielders are playing every week and they're performing quite well and you're only playing very little amount of time, I mean, your chances of making it to the squad are going to be quite low. But, I mean, there's time in between now and then. I think he should be getting minutes for England as well. I mean, because I would say, yeah, it's one thing about the playing time you have, but it's also about if he brings him into the England squad for a friendly or something. I mean, if he performs for England, he should be, personally for me, he should be going into the England squad as well. So, Ray says playing in the World Cup is a dream. Yep. If I don't get picked because my manager didn't play me, why should I stay and sign a new long-term deal? Well, I mean, depends how you look at it. If that's how you feel, then, you're probably not going to do it. But if you accept that, football is the way it is, and these things happen, and, you say, well, you know what? It didn't happen for this one, but there's a next one coming, and I'm going to make sure that this doesn't happen again, So there's no question that Mano loves the club, absolutely. As he said, he wants a loan and not several times, absolutely. That is telling. But the World Cup is his main focus at the moment because he got a taste in football, and also, how many of them do you get, right? How? Listen, let's be fair. How many of the World Cups do you actually get? How many do you actually get as a player? I mean, what is he right now? Is he still 19 or is he 20? How many World Cups do you actually get? It's only so many. He's 20 years of age, right? So there's one right now. If he doesn't play in this one, the next one that he gets to play in, he's going to be 24. That's one World Cup. The next one after that, he'd be 28. Yeah, that's 2 World Cups. And then the one after that, he'll be 32. So, if he doesn't get in this, he'll get 3 World Cups, basically. Because after that, then it's over. He'll be 36 and, it probably won't be in there. So I understand his concern and I get it. And actually, you guys are making very good points. And I wasn't thinking about that angle of the whole World Cup. So, that probably makes more sense as to why the whole, loan thing has come about. And why he asked for it. But obviously the club didn't want to do that. And I think even Ruben agreed that they didn't want to do that. Now, that's going to cause some people to feel some type of way because they're going to feel a bit aggrieved for the player, and I get that, but we also need to look out for our football club, yeah? And I'm a little bit old school in terms of I always used to kind of, I mean, it wasn't like Fergie didn't want them to play for their international, but I'm a little bit from Fergie's perspective where he didn't really like the players going on international, and the focus was always Manchester United, yeah, and I kind of picked that up from him. But at the same time, I do feel for the players. It is an honor to represent your country and and play. So, but like Ray said, World Cup is a dream. You only get so many of them, so I get it. Gray says just play Mano and Bruno together. Well, let's do it. Let's do it, and let's see how it goes, yeah? And then we'll judge from there. Against Brentford, so... Yeah, I mean, I don't really agree with that. If you view that in that way, players of color are always in the media. I mean, there's old. I mean, I think any player at Manchester United is literally always in the media, especially for who you are. And it depends what you do. And it depends. It just depends who they are as a person. Yeah. So it depends what kind of person they are. I mean, Rashford's sort of problem is that, I mean, not problem, but what I'm saying is the reason why Rashford is always talked about a lot and he's always in the news is, I mean, Rashford kind of got dragged into a political thing. So there's that aspect. Pogba, I mean, the guys that I mean, Martial is different because he's not a social media guy, yeah, but Pogba was a big social media guy. His agent was very loud and made a lot of headlines and stuff like that. So, you know, Greenwood obviously had Greenwood things happen with Greenwood. So, I mean, that's literally on him. Rashford had the things with the political stuff, which was unfortunate because I don't think he should be dragged through the mud or trying to feed hungry and starving children. But obviously, when he tried to get into the politics of it kind of put him on a certain platform. And Sancho actually, I mean, nobody's talking about Sancho right now, yeah? But Sancho for doing Sancho things and what he did, I mean, he kind of put himself there as well. Kobe is one that, you know, because he's a young kid, and he plays for United, and kind of the whirlwind story, and it's a hot topic. I mean, look at the conversation we just had, yeah? It has nothing to do with Kobe being black, but it's because Kobe is this young guy that we know as a talent, and he was on top of the world at 1 minute, and now he's gone down a little bit, and there's some question marks going on there. And even him going into the England squad and doing what he did and putting in the performances put him on a higher platform. You know, people that don't watch the Premier League, they might have watched that Euro final. They might have been watching the Euros. They've seen Kobe Mainoo. So there's a lot more discussion to go on there. George Best, Ryan Giggs, George Weah, Eric Cantona played in 0 World Cups. That's actually quite crazy when you make that list. That's actually quite crazy. That's actually quite insane. I mean, I don't know if Fred was always blamed for McTominay's lack of positional play. I mean, personally, I blamed both of them because they played together, right? And I think they were both. I think they're first of all, their pairing wasn't very good, but I think they were both incompetent in different ways. Fred was incompetent one way, McTominay was incompetent another way for sure. Now listen, at the end of the day, also, like, you can't help what newspapers write and shit like that, yeah? They're gonna target and write clicks for clicks. Now maybe you're right. I don't know what the accuracy is on that. I would like to get maybe a statistic of the percentage of, I don't know, negative articles on black players compared to white players. I don't have the stats on that. Maybe chat chat is maybe that does check out. Maybe there are a lot more negative articles on black players, or, you know, from the journalists than there are white players. I don't know. I don't have the number on that. It would be good to get a number on that, but the media is one thing, yeah, because we know the media is the media. But when it comes to fans and opinions on fans, I would hope that fans aren't out there judging any of our players based on their skin color. Yeah, I think I think it's fucking ridiculous if you do that. It literally doesn't make sense, and I don't think it has any bearing as a footballer to be judging a player based on their skin color. So, and for me, there's only one color, and it's fucking red. Yeah. If you play for Manchester United, that's about it. When it comes to football, when it comes to sport, there's only one color, and it's red. So, and if you're good, you're good, and if you're shit, you're shit. That's about it. Now, if the ratio goes one way more than the other, I don't know. That's just how it is. Lyle says Eric lineup prediction for Saturday versus Brent. I'll give you one in a second. I'm actually going to jump into a couple other topics though. So I'll circle back to that, Lyle. Just give me a second. Let me just finish this up. Because I actually never bring this in. But Kobbie Mainoo undergoing intensive training with Ruben Amorim to revive his Manchester United career. Mainoo is pushing to play in the number 6 role, so we get a little bit of clarity there, alongside Bruno Fernandes against Brentford. So shout out to whoever said, actually that's what I was talking about before. And a United source said Ruben has been working with Kobbie on his defensive skills, emphasizing defensive commitment to pair him with Bruno. So I hope this is true. And it is, and if it is true, I hope we see it eventually, because it'll put all the talk to bed. Yeah. And then we could come out and say, see, all we need is a little bit of patience. Sort of, I guess, I know people hate this saying, but trust the process. There was a plan for Kobbie. It took some time. It worked out. It developed, and now everybody's happy, hunky dory, right? But until I guess he develops these sort of things in terms of defensive skills, and working on his defensive commitment, he's not going to start, yeah, because he's just not ready for that sort of role. So I hope this is true. It's coming from the Sun, but obviously this is coming from Samuel Luckhurst, which I said he's left the Manchester Evening News and he's gone to the Sun. So now the Sun's going to have to be a little bit more credible, or I guess Samuel Luckhurst is going to lose his credibility to what he has. But I mean, Ondero said this once upon a time. I hope this is what is actually happening. I hope this pans out. I hope this is real. I hope this is accurate, you know? And we do get to a point where actually we do end up seeing, Grace said play Kobbie next to Bruno. I hope we do get to a point like that. And then, all of this will go away and it'll be done and dusted. But I wanted to bring this in here because some people accuse Ruben Amorim of not working with Kobbie, not wanting Kobbie, not knowing what to do with Kobbie, and that basically, if it was up to Ruben, he would probably get rid of Kobbie and push him out. And I've never thought that was the case ever. I don't think it can be the case. And if it was the case, I think then I would just say Ruben Amorim is probably clinically insane in the head, because I don't think anybody that watches football, that knows football, I don't think you can ever come to a conclusion about that, about Kobbie Mainoo, because of his ability. So yeah, so hopefully this is the case and we can all move forward with this and we'll all be happy because we get to see Kobbie play and continue to develop into the player that I think many of us know that he can be, and that he is right now anyway, because I still think he's very good. So, but moving on, we'll talk more about the midfield, but Baleba, obviously Baleba. Grace was here. I think she said it in the Discord the other day, but having a chat, and she asked the question, or I think she said she wouldn't be buying Baleba for 100 million. Well, I'll see you 100 million, Grace, and I'll raise it up to 150 million, because apparently Brighton's data, and this was Ben Jacobs talking on the United stand, but apparently Brighton's data and approach suggests that Carlos Baleba could demand a Moises Caicedo type fee for 150 million pounds or more within the next 12 months. And then obviously they ask the questions, is he really worth 150 million pounds, or should we just walk away? I will say I like him. I think he's a very good player. I don't think we should be spending 150 million pounds on him. I think that's insane. And I think for the price of 150 million, we could probably buy 2 to 3 very good players playing in the midfield. So no, I don't think United should do a deal for 150 million. I think 100 million is pushing it. And 100 million, you got to start making excuses. Well, Premier League tax and, you know, potential and stuff like that. And you're sort of adding into the price. I think, again, I think he's probably in value in terms of ability and pure ability right now. I would say he's probably a 60 million pound player. You're going to add in some extra in terms of, you know, what he can become, how good he can become, the length of his career and how good he can be. Plus, if you're selling from one Premier League team to another, there's probably another added extra 40 million in there in value for those types of reasons. 150 million is insane. 150 million from United's pockets to Brighton. And you know Brighton are going to go and they're going to go and buy another however many players they're going to use for that. No, we shouldn't be doing that. I think that's insane. I think there's plenty of players out there, and we could probably, again, get another. We could get 2 very good players for that price. 3, probably, if you push it. That we can also develop, that are 21 or 22. Now maybe they might not have the sort of Premier League experience, even though how many seasons has he been in the Premier League for? What is it, 2 now? How long has he been actually at Brighton and playing? Is it 2 seasons now? Or is it 3? Chad, I get that it's all across the media, but again, you have to I think we have to separate it. I think, Chad. I think the best for everybody is to separate it. The media are gonna do media things. I mean, how many times have they done shit? Like, let's move away from the players, specific players, yeah? How many times did the media put out bullshit stories about United? They go on Sky Sports, they talk about bullshit angles. I mean, it's just one of the things that happens when you're a Manchester United. Anything that has to do with Manchester United, it's just one of those things. It comes with it. And that's why you need to be able to navigate these things, because everybody hates us, yeah? Like, if you're not a United fan, they hate us. It doesn't matter who you are. I mean, there's literally fans of Serie A teams that they don't watch the Premier League and they hate United. There's fans of the Bundesliga that don't watch the Premier League. They hate United. If you're not a fan of United, we're hated, which is why hated, adored, never ignored. So I get it. The media doing media things, and I agree. They're hitting him. They've hit other players for sure, but I'm looking at more from a fan perspective in terms of the conversation that's going on in between the fans and the fan dynamic of how they're seeing it go. And people are criticizing Ruben. People are trying to say Ruben doesn't want him, that he's not going to use him. I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think we probably have to be a little bit patient, as good as we think he is, and maybe we would make different decisions if we were in charge as a manager. We would be making different decisions, but I'm gonna trust him on it, because I don't think Ruben is naive in terms of, I just don't think there's any possible way he's sitting there looking at Kobe in training and he's like, yeah, Kobe is fucking useless and I can't use him, and he's pretty much garbage to me. I just think it's a bit of a turbulent situation that we got to get through, develop him up a little bit to fit better into the system and for what Ruben wants. And I think he's going to get there, because the way he's developed and where he got to, I think he can obviously go up more levels for sure. And he's made it this far. and I don't think this is not the end. It's gonna happen. So we just gotta be patient. We just gotta be patient. I think it's all gonna work out in the end. I think it is. So only 150 million for Baleba, yeah. Bargain price. Fox says Baleba probably worth a third of that price. Yeah, again, I think if you look at it purely based on just attributes, yeah, just on talent, I think he's a 60 million pound player. But once you start adding in all these extras, sort of BS things, Premier League tax, you could probably throw in the United tax in there as well. Future potential and stuff like that. The fee is obviously going to go up to a fee that obviously we don't really like, because we don't want to pay that much for one player. And obviously it's gone quite wrong in the past when we've paid that amount of money for players. It hasn't actually worked out. I mean, every player that we've signed for close to that range, it hasn't gone well at all. Maguire, Sancho, Anthony, even Paul Pogba, his time was there was a lot of times he did well. There was sometimes it didn't go so well, and it was a lot of up and down. And it didn't really hit the way we needed it to hit with anybody that we paid close or for 100 million. So I get the concern. And also I just think that, again, the fee, when they were talking about it and they said 100 million, it was one that gave me a little bit of had a lot of question marks, some doubts, and some concerns. You're raising it to 150 million. I think it's absolutely out of the question. I think there's no discussion to really be had about it. I think it's preposterous. I don't think we should do it. And if that's the case, and they hold true to their word of 150 million, good luck to whatever team decides to sign him. I think we should move on, and we should be looking elsewhere, and we should go in a different direction. I don't think United should be going in for that and doing that, especially for where we are. Even if you tell me, even if we sell Bruno for 100 million, I don't. Even if you present to me, we sell Bruno for 100 million, would you go for the 150 million? No, I don't think it's smart. I don't think it's a good decision to be doing in terms of a football sense. I like him. I think he's a good player, and I think he's young and he can be one of the best. But for that price tag, I think that's if in terms of a calculated risk, I think it's calculated in way too risky, way too high. Chad says also setting him up to be a failure, and I probably agree with that, because I think it's insane. And what happens if we do that? You sign him for that. I mean, we just talked about the media. I mean, they're going to be nonstop printing stories as much as they can, because they like to jump on the price tags of players. Yeah, they love to jump on the price tags of players. And with INEOS here now, it's sort of changed the narrative. But before INEOS, after a certain point, I kept arguing our fans had to stop talking about the price tag, because the price tag wouldn't apply anymore, because you can't make the argument United's recruitment is shit and then be like, but that player is 80 million. But we all know none of the players that we signed for that price tag were worth that price tag, and that we overpay. So the price tag can never be something used in a valid argument if United's recruitment is shit and we constantly overpay for players. Now it's changing a bit because INEOS is here, and obviously they've fine-tuned that, and we've been paying around 60 million or less for players. Sesko's a little bit more, but yeah, I mean, now maybe it goes back in the other direction, because you can maybe judge the player a little bit more on a more fairer price tag. But that price tag is crazy, man. That price tag is basically, I mean, it's not Havertz. It's Wirtz. It's Wirtz level, yeah. And Wirtz, so far, for what he's been doing, I mean, let's put it this way: if we get Baleba, and Baleba's doing what Wirtz is doing, it would be 74 articles a week about how he ain't performing well, yeah? But because it's not United and it's Liverpool and it's words, you don't hear a fucking peep about it, do we? Do we hear Sky Sports doing a whole segment about how they've spent this money on words and words ain't really, pulling up trees? We don't. So, and it's probably not going to happen either because, again, it's Liverpool and it's not United. When it's United, it's a different story. Yeah, I mean, it's not Baleba's fault. It's all on Brighton, but you know how people get. Some people box, they're very, there's always layers to shit, right? And some people only hit the first layer and they can't go past that first layer. And if you were to sign him for this money, you know for a fact that there's going to be a selection of people out there, and I'm talking about not the outsiders, because the outsiders I expected from them, yeah, but there's a selection of our fans that are going to be like, 150 million, he ain't worth that, he's shit, blah 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 blah, especially if it doesn't go well, yeah. And I think also, as a midfielder, to prove your worth at 150 million, I don't know, you got to be like Zidane or something, and it's not going to happen. Not even Jude went for that money, and you're telling me that he's got to be better than Jude. Like, basically, for him to actually cover that 150 million, he's going to have to score like 15 goals a season and also get assists, and I don't think that's going to happen with him. He can do a very important job in the midfield and be very good, but it's got to, I mean, it would have to go like Declan Rice, yeah? But that extra 50 million is it adds a lot more to it. It makes it way more harder to justify that price tag. And that people are going to be out there and they're going to, it's just going to be too much. So a winning team helps. It does, Box. I do agree. That is true, Lyle. Nobody's talking about words because Liverpool are winning. That is true. That is true. But also, we do know that, again, I mean, we've seen the example. I mean, it's the same thing for Jack Grealish at Manchester City, yeah? And I get it. They win, so, like, everybody kind of glosses over it. But at the same time, I still think that that's sort of a double standard. And I also think it's quite hypocritical because if you sign a flop, you sign a flop. And if you signed him for a lot of money, they should still be criticized in the same way, whether the team is winning or losing, because it's still a bad signing. They still flopped, and they clearly didn't meet expectations. So, but we as United fans, we know that we're under a different microscope than everybody else, regardless of if we're good or not. I mean, when we were good, we were still under a different microscope. Our players were still criticized in a different way. We still have different attention on us, and people still have a different agenda when it comes to us than when it's the other teams. So, because when we were at the highs of our highs, the disrespect that they gave to us when we were winning and when we were champions and when we were amazing, they don't have that same sort of disrespect for the teams that are winning now. Yeah, they don't make the same points. They don't make the same arguments that they made against us when we were at our high. And now we're at our low, and they're kicking us while we're down. And when the other teams were at their low, they weren't kicking them the same way that they kick us. Yeah. So, yeah, Liverpool winning equals happy campers. But still, if you do your job as a football pundit or analyst, you should be able to individually separate that and be like, listen, Liverpool are performing very well. The team's doing well, but this player isn't living up to that price tag. Yeah, but they don't do that because they're hypocrites. They're hypocrites, and they hate United the most out of everybody. Lyle says, and also agree, it's not United. Even if we are winning, they still talk about the price tag. Heck, every time Sesko touched the ball against Chelsea, his price tag was brought up, and that's the thing. It's just a different agenda when it comes to us, and unfortunately, we have to live with that as United fans, and we have to have an understanding about that. as well, and we got to keep that in mind. A lot of times, it's out of our control, but to a certain extent. But it's about how we react to it, and it's about how we control it as fans. Yeah, I feel like sometimes our fans get a little bit too. We bite the rage bait to a certain extent. Yeah, we get too drawn into it, and I talked about it last time on the other show. Like, there's a certain section of our fans that have bought into this. We are shit, and we're constantly getting bantered, and I can't handle getting bantered, and I can't handle, the embarrassment, and I can't handle us being shit. And instead of trying to like defend our players from the outside sources, it's fine if we criticize our own players, and it's fine if we argue amongst each other in terms of um if how good we think a player is. But when the outside people come in against us, we're very we're not as strong as I'd like us to be in terms of fending off outside attackers, because the way I view it, it's us versus the world. And Liverpool do it, like their fans do it, like like Darwin Nunez was shit, yeah? And the Liverpool fans amongst themselves, they know Darwin Nunez was shit, yeah? But if a United fan said something, or a Chelsea fan said something, or an Arsenal fan said something about Darwin Nunez, you best believe that if somebody's calling him shit, you best believe that all the Liverpool fans were going and basically protecting him. Even if it's not true, they're protecting him, yeah? They're hitting back. They're not joining in. They're not saying, yeah, Nunez is so shit. What a shit player. They're not sending a clip to some guy saying something like, yeah, Nunez is shit, and then kind of egging that on. They're not doing that. They don't do that. But that's social media as well, so got to be a little bit light on that. But yeah, hasn't been. Listen, Box. The thing is, Sesko's not going to get a fair shake, is he? I mean, the only thing that we can do is us as United fans is give him a fair shake. He's not going to get a fair shake from anybody else. And that's kind of what I'm trying to hit on. As our responsibility as fans, we got to try and give him the most fair shake we possibly can. And that's kind of why I was talking about Sesko last time, and I was like, we can't get to the situation that we just had with Rasmus, where there's a pile-on. If the team isn't performing, the team isn't performing. It can't all be just Sesko. We've had problems at striker. We need to be aware of this, and we need to be sort of cautious. We can't go down that path again. Yeah. Chad says, but we won't win if you don't have the right players in your team. Word's got Salah, Virgil, and a good manager. We can only have a winning environment when you have winners around the team. You got to build winners, though. They weren't winners. Was Virgil a winner before he went to Liverpool? Was Salah a winner before he went to Liverpool? They weren't winners. They turned them into winners. It's not like they acquired a bunch of winners. They made them winners. We got to do the same. We got to acquire players. They're not going to be winners in a certain sense. But we got to build something and turn them into winners, and turn the team into winners. So, Casemiro is one that, yeah, he's a natural winner, because who is a natural winner? Well, none of them, but Liverpool didn't have natural winners in terms of what player, when Klopp came in, what players did. Right now, yeah, it's different, like words. I get what you're saying, because he has winners around him. But to get to there and to do that, we got to do what they did. Yeah, the players that they bring in, those guys weren't winners. They turned into winners, and that's what we need to do. We need to acquire players and turn them into winners, because the point that we are at a football club, we're not going to be able to get these already made winners and bring. We can't afford it. We can't do it anymore, and they're most likely not wanting to really join us because we're not at that level. So we do have to get there, and it makes it easier for sure. And that's why I worry about the youth as well, because, like, to your point, our team isn't winners. I don't think it's a great environment to be forcing these youth players in there when these guys are struggling. Just in general play from what I've seen so far, no offense to Hoyland, but Sesko is a different level of operator. I agree. I agree. I agree, Box. I don't think there's anything wrong with that statement. And it's different levels, but you just have to remember, and I'm not saying Hoyland was the guy, and I'm not saying Hoyland was perfect, and I'm not saying it was necessarily 100% unfair to Rasmus, but the conversation at the end basically was like hot and cold, red and green. Yeah, because it was just the fans got to a point where it was just like Rasmus is. It was just basically Rasmus is shit, and it's all Rasmus' fault. And if you get rid of Rasmus and you get the sentiment was basically like if you get any other striker and you put them in there, they're gonna score a shit ton of goals. And right now, I agree to you, and I think many people still feel like that. Sesko, when you compare him to Rasmus, is a different operator, but Sesko is struggling right now, yeah, and he's not getting a lot of touches, and he's not getting a lot of opportunities, and it's a similar thing to Rasmus. He wasn't getting a lot of opportunities. He was struggling. Some of it was a lot on him, but in general, I think there's a difference between if you're getting a lot of opportunities and you're getting involved in the play and you're not making it happen, and if you're struggling and you're getting minimal opportunities and you're getting minimal touches, and then also you're fucking up on the pitch when you do get your one or two chances, right? Or, you know, so I have a distinct difference in that area. And right now, what I'm seeing is some of the things that was happening to Rasmus in terms of from the team aspect is happening to Sesko. I think Sesko is better than Rasmus currently at their levels combined. I think Sesko is better than Rasmus, but I'm seeing some things overlapping, which is a concern because I know for a fact it's coming from the team aspect. We're not good at crossing. We don't make the best decisions in the final third. I don't think we're getting him involved enough in the play. And we're going to have to fix that for him to have a bigger impact in our matches. It says I forgot Grealish was 100 million. Yeah, why did we forget that? Because they don't talk about it. Nobody mentions it. Because it ain't United and City won. Whoop-de-doo. But he was still 100 million and he still flopped. Sesko needs to work in his movement. He stays glued to the centre-back too often. And that's fair enough. I mean, listen, the guy's not perfect and he's still a young player for sure. And he's going to have to develop his game. And he's got things to work on. He's not the finished article, clearly, because he's not an experienced player. He's a young guy. And he's also has to transition from playing in the Bundesliga to the Premier League, which is a totally different, you know, it's a different type of football. It's different characteristics in England. So, and I think he can do those things, but I'm a little bit more concerned about from our team aspect in terms of service, in terms of, you know, we got a guy that's 6'5" and we can't seem to even put a cross close to him to give him half a chance, half a whiff of a header. You know, if we could put the ball near him and he's heading the ball over the goal 5-6 times a match, then I'm like, okay, well, the ball is getting there, but he's not doing it. So it's on him to figure that out. But if he's up top and we can't even get the ball close to him in a 90-minute match, and he maybe gets one opportunity instead of 5 or 6, well, then, like, you know, I don't know what he's supposed to do. Kind of like I said for Rasmus. I mean, he's not going to be Ronaldo. He's not going to be Messi. He's not going to pick up the ball, dribble 4 players, and score 3 goals a game. You know, so I think the team aspect is probably the bigger problem. I think for him personally as a player, he's going to have to develop, obviously. But I think that's more of a minor issue when you compare it to the team aspect in terms of we need to be making better decisions in the final third, and we need to be executing way better in the final third. In terms of, you know, giving assists, and supplying balls into the box and to our striker. So yeah. Why do you think Grealish price doesn't get mentioned? Is it just because City won the treble? I think it's City. I think the media glaze City they glaze Liverpool a lot. If you look at the pundits, right, that are on, such as like Sky Sports and stuff, besides our ex players, yeah, and our legends of the club, besides Neville and Scholes and Roy Keane, etc. The other ones, I mean, they're not United fans. They're not fans or they played for other clubs. They don't like United. And Sky Sports in general, I don't know who runs it. And even BT Sport, you know, the pundits are very anti-Man United. Even the commentators during the match, you can hear them. I mean, you got, in America, we have Lee Dixon commentating matches, and he's a former Arsenal player, yeah? He'll talk very highly about Arsenal players or City players or Liverpool players, but when it comes to United, he just talks shit 24/7 every chance he gets, yeah? So I think it helps that they win, but again, I will always make the argument, and I would make the argument to their face, if you're actually a good pundit, be fair all around. You can give City all the credit you want, but he's still £100 million flop. But you just don't want to talk about that because it either doesn't get you clicks, nobody really gives a shit, and we all know that United is always the biggest talking point. We're talked about at all times, everywhere. Lyles, Box says, we even have fans judging players on color. Well, we can't be doing that. And as soon as City stopped winning, Grealish was gone. Well, he was gone, but they never talked about it. They glossed right over it. So Sesko needs to shake his defenders. Yeah, I think for right now, I think it's normal. I think he needs to get adjusted to the league. He didn't have a preseason with us, right? So he needs to get adjusted to the team, and he needs to get adjusted to the Premier League. And it would be good if he can kind of hit the ground running. But again, I always believe in sort of that Fergie approach that, you know, the first year is quite difficult for most players, especially if you're, you know, coming from outside of the league. The first year coming to the Prem and playing for United is quite difficult. It's quite a hard transition. It takes some time for the players to get up to speed. We saw that a little bit in Ugarte, right? I mean, it was around November he started playing much better, and he got into a bit of form. And, you know, it also helps if the team is doing well, yeah? And if the team is playing like shit, I don't expect one individual in the team to continue to be playing at the top of their game, because it's a team sport. And if the team is struggling, the team is playing like shit, nobody's really going to be able to survive if it's one guy out of 10 that's actually playing good. There's just no way you're going to be able to continue and carry that on. So, yeah, but I don't agree with that statement, Chad. You're born a winner, or you're a loser. I don't think you're born a winner or a loser. I mean, it's about you can become a winner. It's about the work you put in. I don't think you're born a winner or a loser. You could be born into a winning situation or a losing situation, but that doesn't mean you're there for life. That doesn't mean that it's set. Winners always gain even when they lose, because it's about progression. But that's about putting in the work. You can become a winner if you put in the work. Losers are losers because they don't put in the work. But you could certainly get out of a situation. If you're in a losing situation, you can get out of it. Put in the work, you get out of it. Fair point regarding Hoyland. Well, thank you. Lila says, United hurt a lot of feelings for a long time, and now we're an easy target, so the pundits are finally getting the revenge. And that's what it is, and that's what I feel like it is, and that's why some of our fans need to sometimes take a step back. I get it. We're not in a good situation. It's toxic. It's stressful. It's depressing. It's emotionally draining. It's negative. It's hard to have patience. It's hard to be positive. But our fans have to kind of have the blinkers on and be like, listen, our club is not in the situation, but we have to remember basically what Lyle said. We hurt a lot of feelings for a long time, and we're an easy target now. And it's fine if it's us and we're having these discussions and we're like, yeah, this player is shit, or we don't think he's good, or he sucks and he ain't good enough. It's fine between us. But once somebody else comes opening their mouth, we should be going at them, even if it's not true. Even if it's true that they're not good. I feel like our fans could do a better job in terms of going at that person for having a go at one of ours. Yeah, I think it helps the player in a certain aspect. It'd be like, listen, the fans are criticizing me, and I can get that because it's our fans, it's my fans. They pay money, they give the time to support the club, and I get the criticism, but they shouldn't be agreeing with an ex-Liverpool player or an ex-Liverpool legend or some random pundit or some random newspaper outlet that's making a story about me, and you go in the comments section of that newspaper story and it's just all United fans basically piling up. So, you know, Maguire is also 80 million flop, but they're trying to make his stay at United look positive. That's only 20 million away from 100 million. Still the most. No, but I mean, he is though. But this was what I was saying before though. The difference is that at the time when we signed Maguire, and so is Sancho, and so is Anthony, but we can't really hold that price tag over them because I never considered Maguire 80 million value. I didn't consider Sancho 80 million value. I didn't consider Anthony 80 million value or any of the other players. I mean, even the fee that we signed Rasmus for, all of those signings were really bad, yeah? And they were all overpriced. I mean, when we bought Maguire, everybody said that the 80 million was overpriced. And every signing we made was overpriced. So we can't really hold that price tag on top of him because he was never. We should have never bought him for that price anyway. It was never close to being justified ever. So during that period, the price tags became really irrelevant because it's just like you can't sit there and make the argument and say United are really bad at recruitment. They overspend on every single player they buy, and then say, well, Maguire's an 80 million flop. Well, no shit, because we shouldn't have bought him for 80 million. He wasn't valued at 80 million. We were the only idiots that were going to pay 80 million. And if some other club bought him, whether it was City, Liverpool, or whatever, you know for a fact that they wouldn't have paid 80 million for him. They would have either got him for less or they wouldn't have bought him. So during that period, I mean, everybody knew Maguire wasn't worth 80 million. We paid 80 million for him, and then every other week it's a story about how he doesn't live up to the price tag. And it's like, but he can't live up to the price tag because he was never good enough to be 80 million. We just paid it because we're stupid. So, you know, those players, even somebody like Sancho, who I no longer like, I don't hold the 80 million price tag on his head. I don't hold it over Anthony. Because I blame the club. Because they're paying fees for players that clearly are their ability was nowhere near that. They were always going to fail. They were always never going to hit that high. Because we're overpaying. If the fee was more realistic, you can judge it better. But because we were completely overpaying for every player we bought, that argument goes out the window. But the point that I'm saying is, when you go on Sky Sports and they have a 30-minute segment about Maguire, and not now, at the time, and it's all about how Maguire's 80 million and he's not living up to the price tag, it's like, well, you can't say he's not living up to the price tag when you're literally reporting that United overpay for every player. It's a contradiction. They don't go together. It doesn't make sense. You know, it doesn't make sense at all. Now, listen, if we're doing better in recruiting, which we are doing now, yeah, like the players that we're getting, like I think Cunha, for the price that we got him, I think it's fair value. I think you can absolutely now start to use some of the, you know, transfer fees that we're buying players for to judge them, right? On a more fair basis. I think it's on a more fair basis now. So going forward, I think we can start using the price tag to kind of justify their time at United. Because I think we're buying players for a more fair value and a better value and a more common sense value. But during that period, we all know that we were overpaying for every player. So it's just like that argument goes out of the window. a lot of toxic Man United fans would rather support an ex-counselor's point of view if it furthers their agenda. Well, that is one of the things, and also I just think it's the fact that, listen, it's when you're stuck and down in the trenches, it's a lot harder to fight, and it's a lot easier to give up or give in. Yeah, and I think there's a lot of people out there that they just can't handle the fight, right? So they start siding with these ex-Scousers' point of views because it's easier, and also you don't have to brunt any of the criticism that's going to come with that for trying to back a player that clearly obviously isn't doing well or isn't doing good from somebody else. You know, you get to be right. Yeah, you get to be on the right side. um you get to be the correct guy. A lot of people do that on social media. Now social media is social media, but yeah, I mean, it does have a play. um Lyle says, besides Ed Woodward threw money at the problem, hoping for something to stick. He was the reason clubs took advantage of us. No, I mean, he was. And also, I still have that theory that the Glazes and Woodward, I mean, Woodward being a banker, yeah, if you are a banker, there's ways to inflate the property value. And to the Glazers, United is basically a property, right? And if you overpay for players, let's take a bunch of the players that we paid 80 million for. Yeah, if we paid 50 for them, the value that it adds to the club is less than if you pay 80 million for them. So I think it was naivety. I think it was incompetence, but I also think some of it was sort of kind of on purpose, because the higher you pay for, the more of a splash it makes in the news, and also you're inflating the club of the price. Um, they do it. I know they do it with homes. They do it with commercial buildings and stuff like that. If they can inflate the price of a property, um, they do it, and there's legal ways to do it. And with United, the legal way to do it is, instead of trying to get the price for a player as low as possible, let's just sign them for a lot. It'll make a big splash in the news, and also there's this side effect that, hey, if we sign a bunch of players for this value and we don't sell them, the club's value goes up, because now we have assets on the books. Instead of a bunch of 50 million assets, we have a bunch of 100 million assets. Well, we just doubled it. So set United up for failure. Yeah. Um, Fox says, yeah, I think the fees means that the players set up for failure. Well, it does. I mean, these are all side effects of what happens, right? Someone made a similar point earlier regarding Baleba 150 million being set up for failure. That was Chad. Chad made that, and it's true. It's true. It sets them up for failure. But listen, if we sign, let's just put it. Let's use that as an instant example. Yeah, if we sign Baleba for 150 million instead of 60, that 150 million gets written off on the club's value. We just added a 150 million asset. The club's value goes up. That's why United are valued at we're at, and we're shit. That's why the club value has gone up over the past 12 years, and we've been shit, and we haven't been winning. The club value isn't going up because we're winning and we're getting big sponsorship deals, the biggest ever in history, and we're breaking records for it. The club value is going up because we're commercializing the shit out of it, and we're using players' overpriced values to bring the club up. And this is why the Glazers are scumbags. But as much as they're scumbags for their situation, they're smart, because they know what they're doing in terms of money. When it comes to money, when it comes to a football club, they're destroying us, and they've been destroying us. But in terms of themselves making their asset being worth more, they're doing exactly what they can do. Maguire Maguire been bought was setting United up for failure. They did, because they were jealous of us winning them without Ferguson. We won a cup in Europe, and they could see we were going to come back to the top soon, so they made us buy Maguire and Bruno to set us up for failure. We now sit with. I don't know if it's that case exactly. I think with Maguire, again, he's English. He was talked about a lot at that time. He was quite popular. And Liverpool did the signing with Van Dijk, and there was a lot of sort of traction and a lot of talk by the British media. And I think they looked at it and they were like, yeah, let's go make a record signing. Let's go make a splash in the news for an English player that's talked about quite a lot right now by the British media and is very hyped up by the British media. Let's go make a splash in the news. Let's break pay a very high fee. It's going to get a lot of traction. It's going to get a lot of news stories. And then a minor side effect is, instead of paying 60, we write it off for 80. And the 80 goes into the value. And I think they thought as well that they were getting a good player. So I think they were trying to have their cake and eat it too. I think they were trying to have a good player and for a high price tag. But they were doing a lot of these things and it wasn't working. And then also, I mean, it's quite obvious they don't resell them, yeah? And the reason why they don't resell them is because when you sell the asset, you have to write that you sell the asset off. Well, if you sell the assets, especially like somebody like Maguire, if you sell an 80 million asset and you can only sell him for 40, well, now you have to write it off as a loss. If you keep him there, you don't have to write anything off. So he just stays as an 80 million valued asset. Now, I don't know what happens, for example, to where we got now. Later down in the future, down the line, his contract is coming to an end. And I don't know how that necessarily gets written off, because we're not selling him, right? And if he leaves for free, I don't know how that goes on the books. I'm not 100% on that. I don't know if we have to report that. I don't know if that gets taken as, minus whatever his value is. Let's just say he's valued at 20 million right now. It doesn't reflect on our books though. But what reflects is that we paid 80 million for him and he's 80 million. So it's not like the price actually goes down until we get rid of him. So yeah, the Glazers, Woodward, Arnold, etc. Big problems. I mean, they're the reason why we are where we are. Bruno, for the money that we signed him for, he's been our most impactful player. He's probably the only actual good signing that we actually did in terms of value for money and input. I guess I would say output, input, whatever, whichever one it is that we got back in terms of goals, assists, the price we signed him for, and the impact he's had. He's probably the only one that, out of all the players that we signed over the past 12 years, he's the only one that actually you could put probably a check mark next to him. Everybody else, I mean, literally everybody else, the price that we signed them for, the wages that we gave them for, and what we got out of them, it hasn't been anybody. Other clubs thinks it's dumb to buy Maguire. Well, now, I mean, he's 32. Why would anybody buy Maguire now? He's at the end of his career. It's over for him. And Bruno Fernandes, I mean, he's not going to go. We wouldn't sell him to another top 6 club. And to sell him, we need an offer that we would probably only get from Saudi Arabia. Because, again, if it's 100 million, you sell him to Saudi Arabia. If you're sending him to a top 6 Premier League club, I'm asking for 200 million. I'm asking for 150 million. I mean, I'm doing what Brighton are doing. Baleba is 60 million. Yeah? All right, but if we're going to sell him to a Premier League club, we're going to ask for 150. Maybe we take 125. Well, the same thing goes for Bruno. He could be like a 70 million pound player, but we're selling him to another Premier League club. I'm asking for double the triple. If we're sending him outside of the league to another team, then we'll take less, but it's still going to be decently high. Tabloid fans does not equal Bruno fans. What does that even mean? And who's reading what are tabloids? Tabloids is like the Sun. Who believes the Sun? Everything that I mean, not everything is accurate, not everything is true, but not everything can be fake either. I mean, there's journalists that are credible that put their name out there and have their reputation on the line. you know, who's it might come from the Daily Star, but it's about who writes the article or who's providing the information. Today, in today's day and age, everybody has kind of their own business, right? If Fabrizio Romano says something, is he considered a tabloid? If it's Simon Stone, is he considered a tabloid? You know, you got to sift through it. But I don't even know how the correlation of a tabloid fan would equal a Bruno fan. I don't know. What are the tabloids doing? Tabloids aren't doing Bruno propaganda. Tabloids literally criticize the shit out of every player we have. Yeah, I understand that we got robbed. We all know we got robbed. We said we got robbed when we bought him. The United fans said that. All United fans said that. When we paid 80 million for him, there was not one United fan that was happy that we paid 80 million for Maguire, because everybody was like, he's not valued at 80 million. It says it's not even being a Bruno fan, my guy. Yeah, I mean, I don't know why he talks so much about Bruno as well. I mean, you think some United fans spend more time watching rival fan channels? Well, I could tell you that a lot of rival fans spend a lot of time watching United fan channels, which tells you a lot. There is a shit ton of rival fans, Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool fans, that they watch all the United fan channels. And I'm talking about like the big ones. They're constantly in the United stand. They're constantly in the United view. Constantly. I think they watch more United fan channels than they watch of their own fan channels, which goes back to my point that why we're so heavily scrutinized and we're talked about. I mean, they care more about us than we care about them. I know minimal things about our rivals. I don't know the depths. I think these guys, they take a lot more time to watch our type of stuff. Who else wanted Maguire at that time? What player would Bruno replace in the top 6 teams? Bruno would be in top 6 teams because the output he has is good enough to do that. Maguire was wanted by City. But Manchester City didn't buy Maguire because they didn't want to pay 80 million for him, because they said that's bad value. And then they didn't buy him, and we bought him because we have dumb, stupid people in charge. But anyway, let's move on real quick so we could end it. We could end out the show because it's been a long show. So there's been some talk about Harry Kane, and then we got to get to Lammens, and we'll get out of here. But Kane's been mentioned to us again. He's being linked to us. There's been some links. Manchester Evening News saying Harry Kane is keen on a Premier League return, with Manchester United a likely destination. He could leave Bayern Munich for £56.8 million if he can confirms the move this winter. And then the other update that kind of goes into this is from Ben Jacobs, who was obviously on the United Stand earlier, talking about his feeling of what he thinks from what he knows or what he's heard about surrounding Harry Kane. And he said that he does believe that there is something to these Harry Kane links to Manchester United. Now, this person said for something like £30 million or less, they wouldn't mind Kane and Sesko as their striker options. But I think one of the updates that Ben Jacobs gave when he was talking about this topic is apparently Harry Kane has a secret release clause, which I believe is about 65 million euros or something, which I think comes out to this 56.8 million pounds. I'm not 100% sure on that conversion, but apparently he's had a secret release clause that nobody really knew about, that apparently Ben Jacobs has found out. I don't think we should be hitting that release clause, considering his age. And if if he's announcing that he wants to leave and he's willing to leave and that's his move, then obviously we should be negotiating a price for less than the release clause. Yeah. Now I sort of agree with this sort of sentiment. I mean, for something like 30 million pounds or something like that, and I think if you can get a Harry Kane for that price, and have him and Sesko as the strikers, I think that would be all right. I think that's a fine move. Again, it's all in the circumstances. I think if you tell me 30 million, I'm cool with that. That's fine. If you tell me 56.5 million pounds, I think that's 26.5 million pounds too rich for my blood. And we also got to take care of some other positions, right? We need the midfielders. We need wing backs if we're going to still be with Ruben and we're moving in this direction. So we can't be spending a shit ton of money more on the striker position, especially because we just spent a good chunk of it on the attack. We got to start, we got to take care of the midfield. We should have taken care of the midfield. We didn't. We definitely have to now. The midfield has to be number one priority. And also we have to be looking at the defense as well. So, I mean, 30 million, if we have the funds for it, if we can make it happen, if we end up in a good position at the end of the season and we're back in European football and we get some extra money and maybe we move on some other players, we get some money out of, saving Casemiro's wages. We move Rashford on and actually get a good fee for him and a couple other players, and we can do it, then I would be okay if we can do it, but it depends on the circumstances going forward. Surrounding that stuff about Harry Kane. But I guess we'll see. Apparently, maybe he's supposed to be making a decision about this sometime around January, so I guess it's one to keep an eye on. But let's just jump to the goalkeeper situation, because obviously the big one that we were supposed to talk about, but we got into a heavy discussion about other things, but I thoroughly enjoyed it anyway. So, but the big one that I really wanted to talk about was, we talked about Lammens last time, and literally the other day I said my feelings surrounding the situation is that we're not going to see Lammens for a while. Bach says he thinks Kane's going to stay in Germany. He could very well. I mean, we'll see, if this has any, sorry about that. We'll see if there's any there here in this update where, apparently, because apparently they're reporting that he's keen on a Premier League return. They're reporting that it was always sort of his plan to go to Bayern for a few years, maybe win a couple trophies, and then come back to England and finish out his career. So we'll see if there's any truth into that. There could very well be. I mean, I think you can say he doesn't come back to England. I think you can say, well, maybe he wants to come back and finish out his career in England, and it was always sort of his plan to go to Germany, go to Bayern. It was a good opportunity to get some trophies under his belt, and he goes back to England and he finishes out his career. Would be a great mentor, though. Yeah, and listen, he still has that prowess to score a lot of goals. He still has the ability, possibly as an eye on Scher's 260 goals. That could be something as well. Maybe that was part of his plan. He was like, listen, I go to Bayern, I go to the Bundesliga, do a couple of years there. I'll still be able to play after two years or so, 2-3 years, and I go back to the Premier League, and I finish out my my career in England, and then that's it. I mean, he's 32 years of age, and when is his birthday? July 28th. So he'll be 33. He just turned 32. He'll be 33 next summer, and I assume, I mean, he's doing well on the injuries. Remember, he had slight injury problems at one point in his career, but he's been doing better, and he hasn't been getting so injured. And he is getting up there in age, but maybe he could give another 2-3 years. And I think, if you're telling me Harry Kane, 2 years sort of as a mentor with Sesko as well, and Sesko can learn a couple things off of him, I think that's fine, because Sesko is young as well. And Sesko's only 22, so 2 years, Sesko will be 24. He should be heading more towards his prime. He should be more rounded out. So I think I think it could work, definitely, in that sense. If he were to come back, finish his career, or get get the record. I don't see it at United. He goes against the INEOS structure, and what would his wages be? Well, those are all valid questions and valid points as well. I mean, I guess it depends what that entails. The only thing is that it does go against the INEOS thing, but again, we still have this discrepancy that Amorim is asking for experienced players, and every target he's so far kind of asked for, they've all been sort of experienced, yeah. And obviously Harry Kane fits that bill in terms of experience. So, you know, he wanted Watkins, he didn't get Watkins, but he wanted Martinez, he didn't get Martinez, but he still. I think again, I think he's probably looking to get rid of some of these other experienced players that we have at our team that are harder to get rid of, and I think he wants to get in another one or two experienced players in a certain position. I think he got the experience with Buemo and Cunha. I think he would probably still like to add another one or two and maybe get rid of one or two that we have now, and kind of like in a swap, to balance things out a little bit. So, he's on 400k euros, 480,000 euros. Well, I mean, that's a lot. I mean, but it depends as well. I mean, I don't think he's going to get. I think if he was to leave Bayern, yeah, I think listen, I think Harry Kane is that type of guy. He'll probably take a pay cut to finish out his career. Yeah, I think the way he handled the Tottenham situation, in the way that he could have moved, and he sort of had some respect and grace to it, and he was actually, I think he held out longer than, I mean, he held out a lot longer than people thought he should have, and he did it out of respect to Tottenham. I feel like if there was a guy that would be willing to obviously take a pay cut, you know, take a pay cut to make the move, and maybe he wants to go for the goal tally and he wants to finish, you know, I don't think he'll be. I think if he does make this move, I don't think he's going to be asking for 400,000 a week. I don't think he'll probably ask for 300,000 a week. I think if he decides to do that, he's going to have to take a pay cut. I think he'll be willing to do it, and I think it's because he you know, it's going to serve a greater purpose, yeah? If his aim is to go for the goal tally, and that's the goal you want, then you're going to have to make some concessions. So, we'll see. We'll see. United's wage bill has really been decreased when you compare it to all the it has been, and that was something I brought up on the last show, and we have to be a little bit careful on that, because again, I said it last time, and while you don't want the most expensive wage bill, especially if it's not getting returns, which is basically what we had for a large period of time, we also have to be careful, because you don't want the wage bill to go too low. Because if the wage bill goes way too low, well, then we're not really competing with the top teams anymore, yeah? Which means we're not getting a certain level of player anymore with a certain level of ability, and we're falling behind. And I've seen these financial guys. I shared with you guys Swedish Ramble. That guy is very good with the finances and how all those things work. And I've seen him make this argument, and it does make sense. Just because the wage bill is going way lower than it used to be is not necessarily a good thing. It's good financially, but we're not, if it goes too low, right? Like if our wage, let's say if you get the Premier League table, yeah, and United's wage bill is in 10th position. Well, if we're like that for a couple years, would it be no surprise if we're just a mid-table club then? Because we have a mid-table wage bill. And the level of player we're getting is just mid-table, because that's what we're affording. So you got to find a happy medium there. We don't want to be like how we had it before, but we can't go too low either, because that means that we're missing out on top talents, and they're going to other places. So we got to be a bit okay. You know, we got to find a happy medium there. We can't go too low, because I see a lot of people talking about the wage bill and that they've done a good job to lower it. And they have done a good job to lower it. But I get a bit concerned when Sir Jim is talking about the wage bill is still high, and it's actually, they've lowered it quite significantly. And it's like, well, how much lower do you want to go? Because you won't be able to compete if you go any lower. We're only going to be able to be signing a certain level of players that you would expect maybe a Brighton to sign or something like that. Not United, not a team that's trying to get back into contention and winning the Premier League. You can, you know, and I have these arguments with Grace a lot as well, because she's concerned about the finances, and I get that. And she's made statements, you know, we shouldn't be giving Ruben any more money. But again, there's got to be a balance. We can't not spend, and we can't not be cheaping out. We have to make smart signings for good money, but we have to keep up with everybody else because they're going to spend and they're in a better position. And we can't just not spend. Like, in today's time, you got to spend to be in competition because everybody else is doing it. And we're already behind them. So we got to try and keep up. We just got to be smarter about it. We got to be more on the ball about it. Elias says Arsenal's wage bill higher than United. And he agrees with me that the quality of player will then be looked at. Well, that's what. Well, I seen the guy making a correlation. He's like, look, he's like, you know, if we're eighth in the wage bill, and he's like, and we're finishing outside the top 6, he's like, it kind of has a correlation, especially if it goes over the next couple of years. He's like, look at the other teams that aren't United, like the Brightons of the world, or, you know, whoever else, like Brentford. Look where their wage bill is, and look where they consistently finish in the table. He's like, there is a correlation to that. So Box says, I think we're still 4th highest in the EPL. I think, I don't know, are we 4th? It's either 4th, 5th, or 6th. I think. I don't quote me on that because I don't remember exactly. I remember seeing it. I don't remember the exact position, but I remember that we did drop, and it is way lower than what it used to be. And Box said we used to be top 3, 4 in the world, and we're probably like 10th now. Yeah, so I think again they did good to bring it down because it was way too high for what we were doing as well. It wasn't correlating to results, so you definitely don't want to do that. It's like making a movie, right? And you have a $500 million budget, and the movie is only makes $100 million. You know, you've fucked everything up royally. So, you know, you got to find a good balance to that. So hopefully, I mean, let's see how we move going forward. But let's get to the goalkeeping because this is interesting and it ties into what we went to live last time. So, stats people, here's your stats from FootMob. Of the 23 goalkeepers who have featured in the Premier League so far this season, Binder ranks 19th with a 50% save percentage. And this person, again, same account, aggregator account, voicing their opinion, and I thought it was a good question or a good statement, good topical thing to talk about. They said, so isn't it the right time for Amorim to start Senne Lammens and test him against Brentford on Saturday? What do you guys think? I probably know the answer, but again, this is what I'm saying. These aggregator accounts with all the fans following in them, I mean, they put out stuff like this and these opinions, and this is what I've been voicing my concern about. There is a big push for Lammens to come in. There's a big push in the way that they write these things, right? They come with this stat. Binder is 19th out of 23 goalkeepers with a 50% save percentage. You know, they write it in a manner, or the thought is in the manner of, it can't be much worse. You got to play Lammens. Lammens has to do better. It's literally impossible not to do better. And you would hope he does better, and I hope he does. But there's no guarantee that he does. And the way that they write these things and say these things, again, we talked a little bit about people being set up for failure, and I just worry a little bit about that. Because I've been saying, I don't know how good he is. I can't gauge him. I've never watched the Belgium League. I've never watched full 90 minutes of him playing. The league is 2 totally different levels. So the stats that he has in the Belgium League, I don't trust it to definitely translate to the Premier League. So I have my concerns and worries because I'm looking out for the kid. I don't want him to get destroyed. I don't want him to fail. I want him to be a good signing. I want him to be a success. So I'm a bit just concerned. Now, I said all these things last show. Now, my concerns have kind of not really been answered, but I guess they've been, there's been a response to the things that I've been saying, yeah? And that comes through these forms of these two updates. So Samuel Luckhurst, again, Samuel Luckhurst has a lot to say, has said sources inside Manchester United say Senne Lammens will debut against Brentford. Ruben Amorim's decision is based on Lammens' unbeatable record since arriving, earning him the nickname the Iron Dome. So let's see if this pans out. I think Samuel Luckhurst has a lot of credibility riding on his name on this one, because he's basically saying that his sources are saying that Lammens is going to play and he's going to start against Brentford. So quite interesting. I said the other day that I didn't feel like this was going to happen anytime soon. So I guess it's me versus Samuel Luckhurst right now. Let's see what happens. Lyle's questioning the Iron Dome. Yeah, it means that he ain't letting anything in. It means apparently he's doing so well in training that they can't score on him. And there's a joke in there, 100%. And that's because we can't score goals and we suck at scoring goals. So maybe he's not as Iron Dome as we think it is if it's our players shooting on Lammens because we suck at scoring goals. So I don't know how much of an Iron Dome he is, if that's what we're going off of. Because if we can't score and we suck at putting the ball in the net, well then, yeah, you're going to make Lammens look a lot better than he is, I guess, right? In that terms, because it's easier for him to save compared against other teams that are actually going to be good at scoring. But we'll see. We'll see. Onana, the open dome. Well, I think maybe Onana was another one. And why he kept getting so many chances was because maybe in training, he was actually doing okay because we suck at scoring. And then when we go into the games and they see him making the mistakes, they couldn't understand what was going on. And they were like, well, how come he's so good in training? How come he's so good at practice and making saves? And then when we go and play a Premier League match, he gets shitted on and he makes all these shitty mistakes. And he looks like, he looks like trash. So hopefully that's not the case. I'm being a bit facetious. I'm being a bit, sarcastic there. Hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully he is doing very, very well. Hopefully he's been impressing. Yeah. And hopefully that ability is real and it's not being masked by our shittiness to convert chances into goals like it's been in actual Premier League games. So the Iron Dome starts. Yeah, apparently. So I missed a couple chats. Box said, I think in the short term it's good. It's a good thing, but as we improve, I expect the wage bill to steadily increase. It's got to. I think it's definitely, Box, 100%. I agree with you. It's got to be a short-term thing. If it's a short-term thing, it's not really that much of a problem. Especially if we build correctly with the wage bill, 100%. And Lyle has checked it out for us and said United are 5th highest, behind Chelsea, Liverpool, Arsenal, and City. So listen, 5th is all right. That's still top 6. We should still be able to, perform in terms of the wage bill, in terms of what that correlates to. What you don't want is United to be like 9th or 10th in the wage bill, because that means that we're spending money like a mid-table club. So we're going to end up becoming a permanent mid-table club. That's basically the argument of that. Box says, I think one of these two games would be the right time to give Lammens his debut. And it could very well be. I mean, I think, listen, the Chelsea match is a big match. It's a bigger match, so maybe there was concern about doing it in that sort of match. These Brentford and the other matches, it's a smaller type of match. It's still a big match in terms of we need to win and we need 3 points and stuff like that, but they're smaller teams. Maybe there's less pressure, and we should be able to handle the match aspect a little bit better. So maybe this is the right time, and maybe he was just waiting, and he didn't want to risk putting Lammens in a caliber of match against Chelsea. Yeah, and maybe one of these matches it's a better caliber to put him in, to give him his start, and stuff like that. So. Lyle says, I have my concerns as well, but Brentford and Sunderland are good shouts for his debut. Well, I think Sunderland 100%. I think Brentford, you can make an argument for it, although You know, because they it's not like they have Thomas Frank there, and they're playing differently to a certain extent, and they're also performing a little bit different. So I don't think it's the same football that Thomas Frank had them doing there. And they have adjustment struggles as well. So, you know, you can make an argument for it as well. Onana is the open dome. Box says Roberto Carlos, Ivorian Messi, the Iron Dome, Harry Beckenbauer, Portuguese Magnifico, Money Maze, Maz, and the Butcher. We got some names there. We're gonna have to come up with one with Sesko, yeah. Sooner rather than later. I can't think of one yet, but we gotta get one for Sesko for sure. And I think we need one for Mateus de Ligt as well. We should get one for Mateus de Ligt. Anybody else? Not anybody else, not at this moment. Maybe one for Kobe Mano in the future. Gotta get him a nickname. But one of the other updates about Lemons, let's jump to this real quick. Simon Stone chiming in here, so not Samuel Luckhurst. So, and when I read this, I instantly thought of Box, because Box has literally been saying this for I don't know, months now, months, weeks, days, hours, minutes, seconds, milliseconds, milliseconds. I don't know what's after milliseconds. But yeah, Simon Stone says that reports indicate that Senne Lammens has made a strong impression in Manchester United training, earning positive feedback, described him as calm and mature for his age, which is what Box was telling us, and adapting well to his new environment. Lammens has already secured a place to live, moving on from hotel accommodations. So this gives me some hope. It gives me some encouragement because I've been worried. And the last show, I was saying the opposite of, I was a bit concerned that we went and bought this guy. And it just doesn't seem like that maybe he was ready, because there seems like, you know, an unwillingness to give an opportunity or a chance. And, you know, I was questioning how actually good was he and how ready he actually can be if Ruben isn't looking to give him an opportunity, yeah? With this update, I mean, let's address some of the things. We're going to have to, I mean, we can't verify these things. I can't watch him in training. I don't know what he's doing, but I have to take their word for it. And then we'll see the putting in the proof when he actually does play. I do expect him to, at some point, play. I just don't, from what we were getting, I didn't really feel like it would come in the next, let's say, 5 matches, unless there was some sort of calamitous performances from being there, in terms of like if he was making Onana type mistakes, which he really wasn't. Now, his performances weren't really filling me with the utmost confidence. And I've seen him a lot already, and I already have sort of my feeling and my, you know, like, I have my opinion on him. But I was a bit concerned because I was like, well, we know what Binder is. We know his strengths. We know his weaknesses. We know how he's played. He's had multiple chances. We've seen him do it. And I was like, it seems like a little bit reluctant on Lemons to go in. Well, apparently, he's been doing really good. And he's made a strong impression. And his character is one that is a plus and a positive, because he's calm and he apparently is very mature for his age. And he's apparently adapting very well to his new environment. So let's see. I'm excited. I want to see the guy. I actually want to see him so I can actually judge him, so we can stop sort of hypothesizing on how actually good he is. I want to see him in a Premier League match. I want to see him against Premier League opposition. I want to see him in between the sticks for us. So, I mean, I hope he starts. I'll give you a sort of a predicted starting lineup, and I'll give you a little bit of insight to the Brentford match as well. By the way, we got 12 likes, so shout out to all the people that has smashed the like button. If you haven't smashed the like button, just please make sure you do before we end up getting out of here. But thank you guys for the likes. Appreciate that very much, and shout out to all the people that have been getting involved in the chat, and, you know, sharing your opinions, and carrying the show. It's been a very good show today. Very good show, very in-depth, very good. discussions. So yeah, I've thoroughly enjoyed it. But just this sort of last update, I'll check the internet. But we've talked about, since we're talking about goalkeeper, Tom Heaton is not expected to be handed a new deal at the end of the season, and he is now making plans for his next steps, which apparently I think he's going to be going into coaching, if I remember correctly, again from Samuel Luckhurst. So yeah, apparently he's going to go into coaching. I think he might be a goalkeeping coach. So he's not going to be sticking around. So the future of the goalkeeping department seems to be, and there was some other updates about Lammens. I forgot to bring them in here, but basically I'm paraphrasing here, but they were saying, you know, Ruben is still sort of looking for another goalkeeper. The hope, though, is that if Lammens can secure the #1 spot, that he won't have to go and get sort of a very experienced goalkeeper like Magnan or something to start #1 if it goes well with Lammens. Heaton is not going to stay, and we're going to then have to go. They said the feeling would be if Lammens does secure the spot as #1, that Onana will definitely be leaving, and Binder will probably be out as well, and we'll sell Binder, which is basically was my plan and my setup for this position. And what I was saying for a few months, in that, you know, get rid of Onana, get Lammens and Binder, have them duke it out. Hopefully Lammens is good enough. He secures that spot. He takes it. You get rid of Binder, and then you kind of reshape the goalkeeping ladder in terms of, many people would say make Vitek #2. I don't know if that's going to happen. I feel like it's not going to happen. I feel like maybe you could do that. I'm a little bit torn between if that's the best situation, because as a goalkeeper, if you're #2, you're not going to play a lot. And then I think you kind of got to weigh up. I mean, if Lammens is playing good and he's secured this position, and there's not really any worries about Lammens, and there's no real opportunity for him to get displaced, would you want Vitek kind of just sitting on the bench as a #2 and not really getting any experience? Or would you want Vitek to go out on another loan and actually play and continue to develop? And then if, you know, maybe things aren't looking so well for Lammens one season or something, or there's some question marks, maybe you bring Vitek in and maybe he comes in. But we did sign another young goalkeeper, actually. So Manchester United will sign a 17-year-old goalkeeper, Charlie Harry, who's set to join the under-18s once the Premier League approval comes through. I don't even know where we're signing him from, but we are getting another young goalkeeper and we're adding him to the mix. So we'll see how that goes. Yeah. And hopefully Lammens is the guy, and hopefully he's the answer. I hope he is this time. I hope we've sorted the goalkeeping position out, and it's one that we don't have to talk about for quite some time. So yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. This thing does this. My bad. I might miss some extra chats along the way. I didn't realize, but this thing was on top chats, and so it hides some of the chats, and I just realized I switched it to live chat. So if I missed some other comments he made, I didn't purposely ignore them. It just didn't show me everything. Box was saying, yeah, he seems like an old head. He gave us some more nicknames. J-Lings, Waza, yeah, those I know. Rashi, Ibra. Well, Ibra was always Ibra. CR7 was always CR7. McFred just gets lumped into one. It's just McFred forever. But McSauce has his own. Mike Smalling, infamously from Louis van Gaal, and Dave. Yeah. Pastor Fred. Pastor Fred was one of my favorite ones, especially when they photoshopped him and his face onto the Pope. You know that picture of the Pope that he goes like this, and he's like holding up his hands, and he's like doing the mass, the ceremony or whatever. Dude, that was one of my favorite memes of all time. Pastor Fred, out there serving up sermons and whatnot. Welbs. The ones that got me back in the day were Giggsy Scolzy, X, Buddy, Ali, even though Ali is just his name, Ali Gunnar Solskjaer, but didn't they used to call Ali the baby-faced assassin? Yeah, wasn't that one of his other nicknames, or what? It was his nickname. Was his nickname baby-faced assassin? Rooney, I know, was Waza, but he also was called I think he was less popular, but he was called the White Pele. Because I looked it up one time and I did see that. Um, so yeah, Lindelof, Iceman, ABB, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Spider. He will probably coach with United since United helped him with the badges. Yeah, I think that's what's happening. So wouldn't be surprised there, Lyle, if he goes into the coaching department as a goalkeeper coach. And fair play to him. It's time to move on. He's never going to play. He's just, listen, realistically, he could just sit around and collect a wage and chill. But, at some point, he's, playing career is over. He's got to move on to other things. So fair play to him if he doesn't, get a new contract or doesn't want it and he wants to go into coaching. Growth, man, growth. New chapters, yeah. Bach says we were linked with Woodman from Preston to become our third goalkeeper, but he joined Liverpool. Well, we'll see when we get there. I think we're gonna have to wait, yeah, until the summer for those types of things to happen. Lyle says there's a secret plan with Vitek since he signed a new contract before he left on loan. They clearly, I think they rate him. I just think what they're doing is they're prioritizing him getting. The loans that he's going on is not because they're loaning him out because they're like he ain't necessarily good enough. I think what they're doing is that they're like he's too good to be playing in the reserves, yeah, but he's not ready to be the Premier League because he's still young and he needs to develop more and he needs to play. He needs to get some more experience. So the loans is to get him the game time because I think they clearly rate him to the point that I think they're looking at it and they're like, he's too good to be playing under 21s or under 18s. We have to loan him to actually be playing some level of professional football and playing and starting on a consistent basis. So the loans isn't because they're like, yeah, he ain't good enough. Let's see if he gets better. I think they're doing it to aid in his development. And that's the game time. And I think that's the argument or the decision you have to think about for next season. I mean, I know a lot of people like him, and a lot of people say, well, make him the second and have him sort of duke it out with Lammens for the first spot. But if it's kind of one-sided and Lammens is actually very good and there's not really a chance of Lammens losing a spot, would you rather just Vitek stay as second, or would you rather have him go back out on loan and get more experience and develop more, because he's still young and he can come in at any time? So ideally for the second goalkeeper we have long domestic cup campaigns. Charlie Hardy, Derby County, is that where he's from? Oh, did they write his name wrong? It's not Harry, it's Hardy. And he's from Derby County. Well, all right, fair play. Fair play. Ali got a second with McFred. He did. Kino, yes. Kino, Chicharito, the little P, the little green P. Green P, green little P, whatever it would be. Lyle says he would be De Gea / Romero, the situation with them, league goalkeeper and cup goalkeeper. Well, fair play. I mean, you could do that. I think that's actually fair play. But I don't know. When you go really in depth in it, yeah, when you look at, I guess, when you're at the football club and you're doing your job at the football club and you're looking at all these sorts of things that maybe we as fans don't get down into those layers, really in depth analysis and stuff like that. I guess it comes down to what's better for him, yeah? Like if you do make a goalkeeper, cup goalkeeper, is the cup keeping position enough for him? Is it worth it? Yeah, like would he get enough development? Would he get enough experience? Is it good enough? Is it high enough on a level that it justifies him being the cup goalkeeper as opposed to, I don't know, sending him to, maybe we could get him to a championship team and be playing literally week in, week out, starting at a championship team. Those are the things I think they're looking at. And I think that's where they have to make the decision on, what's the one that leads to the best results in terms of his development. So yeah. Trafford must be regretting signing for Man City. Well, that's one of the downfall things, right? Is that, I mean, they can and they will easily replace you, and you can and really easily lose your spot because that's what City do. I mean, that's what Pep's done his whole time. I mean, the talking point is always the right backs. Bro signed 18 right backs in like 3 seasons until he got the one he wanted. And clearly, I mean, he's just done it again. I mean, they signed the goalkeeper. Bro played like a match or two, and Pep was like, "Fuck that, get me Donnarumma." And now, I mean, he's fucked. I mean, he's not going to play over Donnarumma. He might get the cup matches, and he might be one for the future. But I mean, Donnarumma is fucking, Donnarumma is like 26. So how are you going to displace Donnarumma if you're Trafford? I don't know. And maybe they sell Trafford as well in the summer. Maybe they don't even keep him. At that point, maybe he has to go. You know. So Romero got about 18 games that season. Trafford Donnarumma signing was very unexpected when Trafford initially signed. Well, 100%, and that's because, again, I think he played those 2 matches. Pep didn't like what he saw, and he literally, called up whoever he called up or whatever, and he told them. Just like the right backs, he said this isn't gonna work. He said go sign me this guy right fucking now. Go sign me right now. Go sign him for me right now. I need him right now. And that's the difference really between us and between City and the problems we have and that they don't have because they're not in the situation we have. We can't do that sort of thing. We haven't been able to do that for quite some time. And that's one of the problems. It's not a problem, it's a disadvantage that we have, yeah? Because we need shit to work. And when it doesn't work, we get stuck with shit that doesn't work. And then we also can't move to sign replacements where they have the freedom to be doing. They've been doing that the whole time. So we're at a disadvantage when it comes to that shit. And they're at an advantage. They've been doing that the whole time that they've built up their team, So, Ortega and Ederson, there was a well balance between those 2 keepers, and it benefited City tremendously. Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's fair play. There's a good angle in there for sure. Foxes, I think, Mamar Dashvili at Liverpool is more of a long-term replacement. I guess Allison will leave within 1 or 2. Yeah, 100%, and I think that's a different sort of situation. Yeah, especially because there was never talk about Allison leaving, and I'm sure when they signed whatever his name is, I'm sure when they signed him, it was well known that like you ain't gonna be the starting goalkeeper for now because we're not getting rid of Allison, and Allison's our number 1, and I think he signed the contract knowing that and knowing the situation, whereas the City one was, yeah, Ederson's going, and he's not our number 1, and Ortega, we're not making him number 1, and Trafford was basically signed as like you're gonna be the number 1, and then was quickly thrown to the side as you're not gonna be the number 1. We're going to get Donnarumma, and then when you sign Donnarumma for the age he is and the experience he has and how good he is, I mean, you could be screwed for the next 10 years easily with Donnarumma. He's only like 26 years of age, yeah? So, I mean, it's not like Allison's older. He's going to have to go at some time. So there is a place for the backup goalkeeper to become the first spot. Trafford, there's no direct pathway anymore. I mean, that's been shut down once you get somebody like Donnarumma. It says, yeah, it must be a level of regret, but to learn from Donnarumma could be... Well, it could be, but he could also just duke it out for a season, and he could literally just tell them, like, listen, when I signed, obviously, I had the expectation of being number 1. You signed Donnarumma, and I don't have a chance of fucking displacing this guy, so I would like to leave. And City, I mean, if somebody has to leave, they'll just be like, okay, and they're going to sell him, and he'll go somewhere else, and they'll get somebody else, so they won't have a problem with it. I guess it's up to him at the end of the day. Man City looks real different these days. They've had quite a big turnover. Yeah, well, listen. Yeah, first world problems. Yeah, I mean, and we're down in the trenches, fucking struggling it out there. Let me go to the internet. Let me see if we got anything while we went live. That I didn't have added into the show. Um, so yeah, let me see. That's weird. Second. Notifications. Open them up. And Marcus Rashford apparently has gotten another goal contribution. So he is quite in form right now. He's got the last 4 matches. He's got 2 assists and 3 goals. So he's doing well, which is good. And I would advise United to tell Barcelona at some point that they could kind of go fuck themselves with that 25 million valuation, and we should definitely be raising it, especially if he has a very good season and he's playing very good. So yeah, I mean that's good. If we could get squeeze a little bit more money out of that, because I don't want to necessarily sell Rashford for 25 million, especially if he's doing well. We should try and get it as much money as possible. The only thing is that his contract is the years are going down, and there's not a lot left. It's not like he's got 4 years left on his contract, so that is sort of an issue and a problem there. But um, yeah, let's see, a lot of retweeted stuff. I don't see any fresh information, and this was about an hour ago. Oh, one of the things is that signing a wing back is a priority for Ruben Amorim, but the recruitment team believe they can wait. What does that mean? They can wait, like not in January? Because I would also kind of agree to a certain extent. Like if you tell me, well, in January we can sign a midfielder or we can sign a wingback, then the wingback can take a back seat because I think the midfield, we need a midfielder 110%. And I think the midfield has to be number 1 priority now. I would probably put a wingback at number 2 priority, and then go from there. So that was from Ben Jacobs. I mean, it's not really that great in depth. What they mean by they believe they can wait. Wait for what? The summer? Not in January? You know, wait, like sign a midfielder first, then go for the wingback instead of signing the wingback before another position. I sort of agree, but just what does it mean? What is the length of waiting? I would have liked to know what their plan is or what they mean by that. So yeah, I don't really see anything else here. Let me go into one of the accounts and see if they've posted it. There's been nothing. Oh, I guess you know what? I'll just talk about this real quick. So we did sign a wonder kid apparently, and we've been asking, the fans have been asking United to be doing this thing, and looks like they're doing it. So I think we can be happy. But his name is Christian Orozco. He's under 17 or 17 years old, Colombian, and I believe we're paying a million. I think we're paying £1 million. He's a player who has yet to play a single minute as a professional. So apparently he's that good of a wonder kid that we're paying a million, and he hasn't even played a professional game yet. Man United and INEOS Group's idea for 17-year-old Christian Orozco is for him to continue his professional development at Colombian club Fortaleza. Transfer fee is around $1 million. He turns 18 on July 13th. So, and then the update that goes into that is if Orozco's development is very good, United will take him to England. For now, he will continue in Colombian club for the next 1 to 2 years. And if he doesn't earn enough points to play in England, because uh, you have to have it. You have to have a number of points to be able to get a work permit to play in England. Um, to get the work permit. If he doesn't earn enough points in that period of time, then United would loan him to one of the other clubs belonging to the INEOS group, which would either be Nice or Lausanne Sport, which is very good and smart and what we need to do. Orozco will travel to England when he turns 18 to sign a contract with United. If the player achieves the necessary points, he stays. If not, he either returns to Fortaleza or is loaned to clubs in the INEOS group. So yeah, we're still signing, and this is what I'm saying. Like, it's good that the club are doing this because again, we are signing young players. We are signing sort of these youth players. And, you know, many fans have been arguing that, and Grace has made this a point a couple of times as well, I can remember, that, you know, the Balebas of the world and the Saicedos of the world, we should be signing these players. We should be looking to sign them. We should be signing them for dirt cheap, 3 million, and we should be developing them. And I think INEOS has been doing this sort of stuff. But the thing is that, like, I feel like it goes a little bit under the radar because we don't see the fruits of the labor of it yet. Yeah, it's going to take some time, but they've been making these sorts of moves with these sorts of younger, very unknown players and signing them to the youth teams and getting them in there. But obviously, to see our rewards for doing this, it's going to take a few years, but it's good that the club are doing these sorts of things. We need to be doing more of it, and there's definitely tons of these that we can do out there from different leagues: South America, Portuguese league, Belgium league, all over the place. So we should absolutely be doing this, and hopefully, if we're doing a very good job of this, this is going to pay off monumentally for us in the next 3, 4, 5, 6 years, and plus. So hopefully we continue doing that. Apparently, Christopher Vavell was the one that was heavily involved in this and was the one that pushed for this. So again, the Vavell thing coming through, and I said this multiple times, I swear, I really do feel like Vavell is probably the best in terms of football identification, ability identification. I think Vavell is the best guy we got at the football club. I would like a couple more Vavells in different, obviously, positions, but I would like a couple more Vavells. I think if we could get a couple more Vavells, I think we're going to be right on track to going back to being our best. I think we need. I honestly think I think that hopefully in the next couple years we'll be able to sit here and we'll be able to say INEOS appointing Vavell was one of the best things that's ever happened to this football club in the last, 15 years or so, or something like that. And getting Vavell in was pure brilliance, and it saved us. I think Vavell could be like our Edwards that's at Liverpool. Yeah, I think he can be to that stature. I think he can help us build and grow this club, like the squad. And I think it can really be really, really significant if you got somebody that's that good at doing that sort of thing. And his record at Leipzig, and you look at the players he got, kind of speaks for itself. And what I'm seeing him doing at United so far is really encouraging me, because I've literally been asking for and wanting this sort of stuff, and Vavell is giving it to us right now. He's giving it to us. He seems to be the only one that's actually capable of doing this. I think Wilcox is good on a certain level, but I think Wilcox is very familiar with British talent, and I don't think Wilcox has the sort of eye for the international talent. Whereas I think when you're at Leipzig and you do the job that Leipzig does, and we want to sort of replicate what Brighton does at a certain level and what Leipzig does at a certain level, well, Vavell does it. He's done it already, and he's proved that he's very good at it. And now he's bringing it to United and doing it at United. So I'm very, very encouraged by that. Hopefully this pays off, and yeah, we'll see where it goes from there. I actually just wanted, I don't know if I copied his name, but I did. I just, because I don't know what position he plays. Yeah, he's a midfielder. So I just wanted to see his position because I don't actually know. He's a midfielder. Does it say specifically what? Attacking midfielder, defensive midfielder? Um, so, you know, we got Diego Leon. He's 18. He's Paraguayan. Um, we signed him in July for 4 million fee, up to 5 million in add-ons. That's another good thing. I mean, these types of deals, there's nothing to lose, man. You're signing a player for 4 million that could go up to 5 million. You're signing this kid for 1 million. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, if they don't turn out to be the players that they turn out to be, which is what Chelsea does, which is why Chelsea has a lot of money, and even Manchester City do it. I know we don't want to be selling good young talents, but also, I mean, if you're signing these young guys like this, and you can, in the future, if they're not what we need or they're not per se good enough, you can sell them in the future and we'll be making profits, and then we can actually use the profits, PSR, and we'll be in a better situation to spend money on players that are actually already good. So yeah, there's no other news though. But Pep was parking the bus for his Arsenal. He absolutely was. And you had Gary Neville giving him credit for it, and you know, applauding him for that, which I thought was strange because, but yeah, that match was kind of shit because Arteta did the same. I mean, Arteta was at home. Arteta set up in a manner where he went very defensive and safe. But you don't win the league by being defensive and safe. And actually, all that came out of that was Liverpool won that match because I think Arteta should have got pelters for the way he did. Pep, for the way he plays football, would normally get pelters. But from a tactical sense, I think you understood. I mean, Arsenal's at home. They're down. You know they're going to come. And I guess he didn't really trust the team to hold the 1-0 lead away. Because he knows his team's in a work in progress, yeah? And he tried to defend the lead, and it didn't work for him because we've seen a lot of that as well. I mean, defending 1-0 leads and defending 2-0 leads and basically going all-out defense and not being threatening in the attack, you more than likely, 80% of the time, I would say, rough number, but you concede the goal. And that's what happened. So, Josie was smiling. You know Josie was somewhere smiling. 5 at the back, 1-0. Was so weird to see. Yeah. The only negative thing is I struggle to see Barca even affording the 25 million. Well, it depends if they move some players on. I mean, we got to see. They seem to struggle in selling players, which is weird, which is kind of sounds like us. They struggle to seem they seem to struggle in selling players, which is their big issue, because if they can sell the players that they want to sell or move on, I mean, they get the money and it opens it up for them. The problem is when they have a hard time registering and paying, and then they can't seem to move on a player or two. So they have a bit of a problems like us, where they can't seem to really get rid of unwanted players, and then they get restricted. So I mean, we got to see how it goes. But you know, Barcelona is Barcelona. They've been pulling levers for like 18 years. Not 18 years. They've been pulling levers for the past like 5 years. They're broke every summer. Somehow they still sign players. Somehow they still register players. So I don't know. You know, you gotta just go with as it goes, I guess. Vanderson of Monaco, Brazil looks a decent right wing back. Well, send Vivell WhatsApp. How was he scouted? Just youth matches? Apparently so, because he hasn't played a single professional match. So, yeah, I mean, it says Colombian top flight. Let me see. So he's represented Colombia up to the under 17 level and was part of the side that reached the final in the 2025 CONMEBOL, or whatever that shit's called, South American U17 Championship this summer. Ozorco plays domestic football in the Colombian top flight, and the signing would represent United's latest addition from South American youth market. So, yeah, Yeah, that's all it says. I mean, there's not much about him. There's not even many articles. Like you type it in and it's like there's not even a lot of information. It's very basic. So he is. I found out that he is a defensive midfielder. So that's cool. Um, he's been identified as a exciting young talent with first team potential. And I guess it's similar to KANE because KANE impressed scouts playing for Mali in the under 17 World Cup. So I guess we found them in the international, which is probably the easier way to scout them. I mean, you scout the youth international cups, and instead of scouting the Colombian league or the youth league, you just scout the international tournaments. Makes more sense. It's probably more efficient and probably gives you a better understanding. Yeah, because I would assume, the under 17 World Cup, um, you know, youth pool is probably a stronger thing to gauge when it's all the top talents of those ages are playing against each other than playing in a domestic league where most of them aren't good enough to even make it there. So um yeah, his performances at the recent U17 South American Championship were strong. um so yeah, apparently they United have widened their academy recruitment in recent years due to Brexit rules which prevent them from signing players from Europe. um So yeah, which is good. So basically, Brexit is helping us out. Thank you, Brexit. Brexit actually did something that's good. Because if it wasn't for breakfast, if it wasn't for Brexit, apparently we maybe wouldn't be looking at South American players in there. According to this article in the Manchester Evening News, due to Brexit rules, been preventing us from signing players in Europe. Um, So we've had to look elsewhere other than Europe, and now we're looking in South America. Could pay dividends for us. So shout out to Brexit. Accomplished one thing. Didn't accomplish what it set out to do, but it accomplished one thing. Um, Unfortunately for all the Brexit fans out there. Um, but yeah, thank you for breakfast. Yes, we like breakfast as well. Brexit. Couldn't we loan him to? Well, that's what. Well, we could loan him straight away, but I think they're just going to let him continue to develop as long as we got the deal over the line and they're letting him just develop there. Cause I think that's kind of a backup option box. I don't think they want to send him to wherever, Lusane is because he's got to go. He's a young guy and he's got to go from Colombia, which is his home country. Yeah. And what he's accustomed to. They're going to have to send him there. He's going to have to get adjusted to life there. And then if he gets what we need from him there and he's good enough, then we're gonna have to bring him to England. It's a lot of transitioning, a lot of moving. I think they're trying to minimize that. So I think their hope is that, and they think, I guess, that he's good enough that he should get the amount of points and just let him continue to develop there so you don't really disrupt him since he's been developing pretty good there. And then he gets the points and then he comes to us and then he makes one transition, one adjustment to life in England and at the club, and then you move forward. But if it doesn't work out that way, I mean, then we have to go to Plan B, and then we got to take him and send him there. But we don't really have an option at that point, right? So I guess they just seem like they want him, and they hope that he's able to do it there, and then we just bring him straight to England, smooth the transition, a lot more simple, and then we just go from there. So um yeah, he's a DM. I figured that out. Surely a few of these young signings will become top players. Well, that's the hope and that's the plan, right? That's why we got to be doing these things. So, but obviously, Box, it's going to take a bit of time. So, um, there's a lot of complaints still about the youth and the youth not coming through and the youth not getting opportunities. But I think in the way we're moving, I think obviously later down the line, we're going to see a lot more of it. And if we're doing a better job and we got people like Lavelle who actually has a very good eye, then we should be seeing some results out of this. Yeah, we should be seeing actually, we should end up sort of like how Barcelona, Real Madrid, kind of do these things where we do end up with 18, 19-year-olds that are good enough to be starting week in, week out, or fighting for, you know, a starting spot in the team, you know, like a Lamine Yamal or something like that. That is the hope. We got to do our due diligence first, right? So we need to be making these signings. And if we have somebody with a very good eye and a very good brain, um, you know, I don't know nothing about this kid, but you know, if he's that good and Vavel sees it and found it, and in 3 years' time he's like doing some crazy stuff where he's like top 5 youth player in the world, then we're heading in a very, very good direction. So, um, yeah, I think in the past some of the problems is that, you know, while we were still trying to sign youth and stuff, maybe we were just weren't getting the best level, and then the development sort of fizzles out, and they were never really, you know, the answer to that. So, but listen, I'm getting out of here. It's been a very good show. We did another 3 hours. But today was absolutely fantastic. Very, very good opinions, very, very good thoughts, very in-depth conversation. And I think it flowed quite well. And I had a lot of fun. It was exciting today. And, you know, sometimes, not because of you guys, but just because the topics and stuff. Sometimes it's a little boring. It's a little bit slow, but I think today was a very, very good one. I enjoyed it thoroughly. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Shout out to all of you that, you know, got involved in the chat. Shout out to all of you that hit the like button. Appreciate that very much. Shout out to anybody that's new that's subscribed. One we had one person in the beginning. I forgot his name. I apologize. But if he comes back, I'll learn it. And we'll be doing Friday freestyle tomorrow, so we'll talk less topical stuff. We'll have a little bit more fun. And you know what? I'm gonna save the predicted lineup, and I'm gonna save a little bit of the comparison for Brentford for tomorrow as well. We'll do it for tomorrow. And we're gonna go live around the same time, so we'll be live probably 8:30 p.m. UK time, something like that. 8 yeah 8 p.m. or 8:30 p.m. So just be on the lookout. Obviously, I'll let you guys know in the Discord. So yeah. Other than that, everybody be good. Take care. Have a good morning, good evening, good night, wherever you're watching from, whatever time of day it is. Shout out to all of you, and yeah, just be good, stay safe, and we'll speak tomorrow. We'll have some fun on the Friday freestyle. Yeah. So good night, everybody. Be good. Shout out to all of you. Thank you again, once again. Appreciate every single one of you. And have a good rest of your